Okay, guys, and I believe we are live. I'm hoping you can hear me. This is for the people in the chat. There might be people listening fresh and thinking I'm just rambling on about nothing, but the show was supposed to have started over an hour ago, and I ran into some major technical problems. So before I get into that, I'm going to look at the chat and make sure you guys can hear me. Can you hear me? All right, cool. Thanks, guys. What's up, Epic? Hey, Relevant. How are you? Thanks, guys. Cool. Hey, thanks for your patience. This is really, it's patience is a virtue, as we're told. And I am a pretty patient person, so we were able to make it through. Uh, dear lady friend of mine helped me out with this quite a bit, actually. I've been running the same system or looking like using a search engine, the same one for years, which is Firefox. And I've run my shows for Firefox ever since I started Catching Up with KJ. And by the way, if you don't even know where you are right now, this is Catching Up with KJ, episode number 65. And I am KJ Osborne with a Z. And I welcome you here. And I thank you very much for being here. Thanks for taking some time out of your Saturday night to chill and chat with us. There's a lot on our plate tonight, and I don't want to get off message. Like, we had a few technical difficulties there for a bit, but we're good now, and we're back. So moving on. Oh well, actually, I guess I'll tell you this much, just so you know, because some of you are probably wondering. Uh, so I'm on Firefox about a minute before I start the show. I click, ready to broadcast, and then a message comes up from YouTube saying they no longer support Firefox. I did not know this. So I had to go to Chrome and then get the show going there. And by the time we got it going or I got it up, I still couldn't hear any audio. And I thought my headphones weren't working, and it became a whole thing. And it turns out that I had to change some settings on Google Chrome and I had to restart my computer. So there you go. It's boring. We can keep talking about technical things if you guys want to. If you're going to be that way about it, we can talk about plugging in appliances and flipping light switches. We can talk about technical things all night long, but I don't think you want to. And I don't either, because I have a very, very special guest coming up tonight who's never been on the show before. He's a YouTube channel I've followed a while myself, big fan. I really enjoy his observations. If you enjoy things on my channel, I have no doubt you'll enjoy things on his. We're different, cover some different topics and stuff, but the thing I really appreciate about this person is they have their own unique point of view. Also, they have Christ in their lives. They follow Christ. They believe in God. That always helps for me. That's a gold star in the paper for the day, as far as I'm concerned, especially in these crazy, chaotic times we're in. So many people are looking for truth, and it's all changing. The game is really changing. That's something I wanted to kind of talk to you about too. Is, for a long time, people have complained about how much YouTube's changed, and it really has. I mean, I've been on here for like 7 years, around 7 years now, making videos. I was on here a little bit longer than that, but I wasn't doing any videos back in the day. So changes, man. Even the format, the way it's laid out, all that stuff's changed. That was a thing in the beginning. And anyway, this past week, some news came out where it finally sank in for me just how crazy it's getting. And some other people are covering this as well, because they're noticing that, and maybe you've heard about this. If not, you should look it up. But they're noticing that if your channel, or if YouTube's in a quote restricted mode, then a lot of their channels are disappearing, and also their comment sections are disappearing. And it's happening to my channel as well. Go down to the bottom of a YouTube, the YouTube page, wherever, pretty much anything you're on, you can go to the bottom and it gives you an option for restriction mode on or off. If you turn it on, then you're going to see a lot of your favorite, quote, alternative media or truthers, or, even Christian channels, whatever. But you'll see a lot of them just kind of disappear. You can't even find their channel whenever you type their channel into the YouTube search engine. It won't even pop up. That's been happening to my channel now too, under this restricted mode. It's pretty crazy, man. They cut out basically all of your stuff, or all of your stuff. And I found it was kind of an interesting experiment, really, kind of a game. I got trapped in it for a while. I kept playing it for quite a while, playing this little with the restrict mode. And you can try it as well. And I made some interesting observations, at least I think so. But mode and then search channels, that you like, and see what happened to them. And also those search channels that you think are the shills, because all everybody nowadays is calling everyone a shill. So this one's a shill, that one's a shill, he's a shill. Pardon me, I dropped my shill. It's all this shill stuff, and it's ridiculous. And try this experiment, man. It's interesting. I won't call out any channel names. I don't want to be that guy, but I put in a lot of channels that I respect. They're also friends of mine I've had on YouTube for years. Some of them we've Skyped and talked, this we're friends outside of YouTube. But I did that, and every single one of them are heavily restricted, just like I am, and just like my channel is under this restrict mode. And Enter the Stars, Nicholson 1968. I threw in some ODD reality there. Black Child, Jonathan Kleck, the Grux. Now, these are channels I've been sub to for years. It doesn't mean I sign off on absolutely everything all of them say, but it's just they're all very interesting. They're unique, and I like their perspectives for the most part all around. So, what are some other ones? Unplug 'em was one. Uh, Friends of mine on here, Call for an Uprising, put him in. Then after that, that's just some. I won't go down the whole list here, but so I did that, and pretty much all the channels that I personally respect and think are giving out a lot of truth, they're all heavily restricted. Then I thought, what happens if I start looking at channels that I personally think are shills? What happens to them? Um, Very interesting results. I almost want to throw out channel names, but I don't want to be that guy. But look this stuff up for yourself, and you'll see that a lot of these other so-called truther conspiracy channels and some of these people out there, they're not restricted at all. In fact, all of their videos get shown. Even recent stuff they're uploading. It's all right there. You can see everything. They show up in the search and restricted mode. Everything's great. Now, I want to say something, and this may upset some of you because I know there's some flat earth people out there. I'm not into it myself, but I think very interesting running this experiment. Every single channel I put in that's a major flat earth channel on YouTube, every single one, not restricted. You can find their channel name at the top of the search. You can find their videos. They're totally, from what I saw, not touching any of the flat earth channels. None of them are having problems. They're free reign. So you make of that what you will. There's some truth in there somewhere. Like I said, there's people I greatly respect that look into this stuff. The majority, though, I think it's very much shillish and psyopish, just because I've had my own personal experiences with some of the people that claim to be flat earthers. But isn't it interesting that these people aren't being fooled with at all? I think it is. I think it's interesting. So if you want to try an experiment, go put your YouTube channel on restrict mode and put in the channel names, even mine, and see if they even show up anymore. And then if they do, check out what videos are showing. Like a fraction, and it's all just channel updates and stuff like that. It's barely any of my real videos are showing up. That's just me. So it started making sense to me because this has all been coming for a long time. And remember the whole YouTube Heroes fiasco we had several months ago, and it was going to take 2 or 3 months to get those people through the training. So they said, but anyway, it's been the 2 or 3 months now. And now we're seeing this new thing. It's AgeGate. They're saying they're doing it for the children. The children. They always say they're doing it for the children. For a real long time that this is where we're heading with YouTube. That what you're going to have one of these days is going to be cat type videos, like they're really kind of, and don't get me wrong, they're entertaining. Hey, I've watched some cat videos myself. Big fan of cats. Y'all know that. Y'all know that. But now you got me thinking about Rascal. I miss that little guy. But anyway, try this experiment out for yourself. Put in the channels. See what pops up. because we really are heading that way. We're getting to a point where it's going to be cat videos, dog videos, dads getting hit in the balls by their kids on accident, stuff like that. A lot of flat Earth. I think flat Earth is going to be all over there, and then it's going to be the so-called conspiracy channels that are going to be left are going to be the most ridiculous channels you've ever seen on YouTube. These are the people that think Katy Perry is JonBenet Ramsey. Okay, that's what we're going to get. That's what we're going to get. I don't want to be done. I'll show you. I'm going to do a video. My website's ready to roll. I'm bringing it out this week. I'm going to put a video up so more people can see it, and I'll leave a link there and explain a little bit of this stuff. But because I think we got to get there now, man. In the last few weeks, YouTube's taken down 7 of my videos, blocked them worldwide. One about Beyonce getting a free pass from the TSA. Of Vikings, I did a symbology video on Vikings, the TV series. Demons are alien, or reptilians are demons, not aliens. That was one I did a mix on from Zendrius way back several years ago, and the YouTube just blocked it. So I got rid of that, and I added new footage, and I put that back out. But that's just a few of them. There were others. I can't remember off the top of my head which ones. But luckily, I have all those saved to my computer now. So the website's going to be also a place where I can upload these videos that keep getting taken down by YouTube. So the YouTube heroes, man, it looks like it's kicking in. And we know that not everybody being a little YouTube hero has the right intentions. In fact, probably 90% of them don't. Disgusting little trolls on YouTube. I mean, it's such a sick culture. In a lot of ways, it's become a toilet bowl. And I think a lot of them are people that just run multiple accounts and they're just haters. Some of them are government paid shills. And the attacks I've seen on my channel and on me personally, and even on other people's, it's almost like they're literally taking books out of Saul Alinsky's Rules for Radicals, which was dedicated to Lucifer, by the way. And Hillary Clinton was a big fan of Saul Alinsky. Look into it. But that's the stuff they're doing. So the troll culture is intense on YouTube. It's really gross, man. And I mean, y'all have seen me. If you've been with my channel for a long time, you know the stuff you've seen on me and on my channel. Sock accounts, and they'll put like personal information out. I recently had a run with that. People were trying to find my mom and dad's home and addresses and saying they belong to my parents. They were putting up names that weren't my names and saying they were my names. They put up a picture of some blonde dude that was obviously Jewish, at least his nose was. It wasn't. They hacked my Twitter, my Skype, my Vimeo. They flag all of our videos. There's people that love to see you upload so they can flag your video. This is what they do. By the grace of God, I'm still here as far as my channel goes and videos I have out. No kidding. I give it all to God. I pray about it every day. Because this isn't some money-making scheme for me. The ads are great. I started that over 5 years ago. I never thought anything was bad about that. What matters to me is trying to reach people and the fact that people are listening. I don't always have the answers. A lot of my videos are questions. And I love hearing your thoughts as well. It's a community. It's a community, but there's people out there that hate that. They hate us. Sure, some are beast system, if you will, or establishment. Some are just freaking haters. Some are psychopaths. Psychopaths. That's real. That's real. There's one of these guys that was making videos saying that I faked x-rays and stuff like that for my injury and I didn't live in Costa Rica. Someone I know did a little digging on him, and it turns out he was arrested for menacing his wife. She had to get a protective order against him. And I'm not saying this just to be a jerk and be nya. I'm just telling you this so you understand we're dealing with really dangerous psychopaths on here. Cuckoos. cuckoos, and we already cover some pretty crazy material. So you got some cuckoos. And the physical side wants to beat their ass. But the spiritual side knows better. I genuinely pray for these people, and I pray for my own peace. And I don't even have to pray that I'm going to not stop, because I know that that's how I'm built. Because on YouTube, I'll do them on my own website. I'm going to keep doing videos. Some things I know I have the answers to, some things I don't. And that's why I need you guys. That's why I appreciate you. And I do. I do. So that's where we're at. So now they're just putting your channel in this restrict mode, and I guess on in a lot of schools and mobile devices and whatever else, a lot of different formats, it's automatically put in that mode. And I'll show this in the video where I show you the website and stuff sometime this week, but I was down 600,000 views a few days ago when I was looking at it. 600,000 views. I'm not trying to, I don't want to sound arrogant about it, but I know that a lot of my videos will hit in the hundreds of thousands. This is the way it was for a long time. Within a month, they're up in there. And usually within like the first day or so, a lot of them are getting 30 to 50,000 views. 30 or 40 at this point. And I'm not the only one. It's even a lot of the bigger, like PewDiePie was having some issues with this. I think you can look him up in restrict mode. None of his stuff shows up either. So in a lot of ways, it really is the end of YouTube. We saw it coming. I don't want to give up. I'm not going to. I'm going to keep going. But it really is the end of YouTube as we knew it. And a lot of times people ask for, like signs. We want signs. When is the end coming? When's the next 9/11? When's World War III going to start? And I'll tell you all this again. I'll explain more about my thoughts on this in some videos coming up, but I'll tell you that this is a big sign with YouTube shutting down alternative points of view. Mainstream to squeeze itself in because no one's watching them on TV anymore. Look up the statistics on that. They're all losing viewership. Media, CNN, MSNBC. No one's watching it. They've been watching us for a long time. And the system does not like that. So here they come. Here they come. So we'll keep doing what we do until we can't do it no more. But we definitely need to branch out, I think, to other areas, websites, minds.com. I'm on there somewhere. I haven't been on since getting back to the States, but there's other avenues. I keep waiting for somebody to create something, another YouTube. I wish they would. That's where we're at. So I think it's a big sign because they're getting everything ready online. They're getting it all set up to where they can shut us down. They can shut down alternative points. Once the shit hits the fan, we don't know when. I'm not trying to be a fear monger. This could go on whoever knows how much longer. But we know that's their idea. You know about Pike's 3 World Wars. That there's a nefarious group of people that really run everything in the shadows. This isn't spooky goo goo, type talk here. Most of you know that. So everything's planned out. It's ritual magic, sigil magic, like the Illuminati card game. I believe it was Jonathan Kleck was the first one to show this part, but showing on your money some of the other satanic rituals, 9/11. And then showing the still to come, and the OKC bombing. But still showing on the money is the tidal waves of New York City with nukes and the Hoover Dam busting. Or a dam. Who knows? Maybe it's the one that they're having trouble with right now. It would have to have a big effect, though. It's order out of chaos. So, let me jump over here to the chat here real quick. And Kareem Kayo, hey, how you doing? He says, can you get to demonic topic? I don't know which one you mean. Which demonic topic are you talking about? Twitwit, good to see you. How are you? Liam's here. Enter the Stars, man, what's up? Good to see you, Casey. Victoria, Kevin. Got a great crowd tonight. Thanks for being here, you guys, by the way. I appreciate you. What's up, Ty? How are you? Ty Jen. Tim's here, Timothy Castleberry. So I got my special guest. What's up, Dino? And I'm hoping that he's somewhere out there. I don't know if he's listening right now or not. He may have given up. Again, we started over an hour late. But let me go check my Skype real quick. And if you're listening right now, special guest, I'm going to go check Skype and see. Did you come on, okay? So give me 1 second here. And I'm not seeing that you're on there. So I may have lost this one special guest. Let's see. So I'm going to come back to the chat. Okay, good. There you are. Cool. All right, man. Good. Did I already leave you the link? Let's see. I think I did. I guess not. Okay, I guess I didn't. I thought I had. Okay, let's try this. Here's the link. And if you want to go ahead and jump on, we can get this party started here. And you may just want to also turn your volume down if you don't mind on the background when you come in, and just check your camera before you pop on, just in case. Some people get surprised, and you never know what people are doing in the homes. So we don't exactly want to see that, Not that you do anything bad, but you just never know these days. So, okay, so I put the link in there. Let me go over here and check the chat. And let's see here, everybody. Once again, thanks, guys, everyone, for being here. We got a great crowd, as always. I appreciate you. And I got my link there. I'm waiting to see what happens. And we should have the special guest on shortly. And then I'll tell you who it is. Okay? Oh, thanks, April Rain. I appreciate you. Hi, Tina. Good to see you. I'll just say hi to some folks until he joins us here. Nikolai. Pandora. Great to see you, Pandora. Jenny Bean. Imps. How you doing? KJ, you watch Barhug Roughhauser. Sometimes, yeah. I think so. I'm not sure. Whatever's in my feed at the time, I guess. V-Town. Jason. How you doing, Jason? Thanks for being here, man. All right. What's up? Scorpion. Twit, I appreciate you too. Thanks. What's up, Patrick Bateman? All right. Let me check one more time here and see if everything's cool. But if you're ready to come in, man, go ahead and, excuse me, go ahead and.
Hey, I think I'm in.
Oh, great. There you are.
Everything sound good on your end?
How are you? Can you hear me okay?
Yeah, I can hear you great.
So, Michael, I can call you Michael, right?
Yeah, Mike or Mike.
So nice to meet you, man. Folks, this is my special guest. It's On Point Preparedness, and I've been a big fan of his for quite a while. We've been subbed to each other, I think, for quite a while. But very interesting stuff Mike gets into. So first, man, let me just welcome you once again. Thanks for being here, man. I appreciate you.
Oh, thanks for having me on. I know a lot of my subscribers were wanting us to get together because we work in the same genre. So this is awesome.
Well, absolutely, man. Well, if you don't mind, we'll just get started. Can you tell us a bit about yourself and maybe how you got into this, and also more about the meaning of your name, because I believe you prepped to some degree.
Yeah, so let's see here. I started with a website. It was probably 2.5 years ago. I think it was around June 2014. And it was mostly from a secular perspective, right? So I followed all the preparedness things, so survival and bushcraft. And the reason I got into all that was basically from 9/11, right? So I started investigating that, and I was like, wow, this is not the truth. I mean, it's blatantly not the truth. And I saw how it was being covered up. And then, you start going down that rabbit hole and pulling the string, and you start learning more and more and more about how many lies are out there. So,
Did you by chance, were you concerned about the year 2000 and the computer thing?
no, not really. I wasn't that deep at that point.
I,
So,
I asked that. I asked that because you just made me think about that when you're talking about 9/11 and how that got you started. But I was still in the military in 2000, and there was a conservative talk show host. I don't think he's around anymore, but his name was Ken Amblin, and this is on the East Coast. And the year 2000 was approaching, and I was like really concerned about it. I was thinking something bad might happen. And I'd also, at the time, I was a private detective. I'd get my detective license out there in the East Coast. And on the weekends, I would go do different jobs. So a buddy of mine that I went through school with was a big conspiracy theorist, so called, right? And I wasn't that big in a conspiracy back then. I was very right leaning. But he was so scared of 2000, he left the state and moved out to a cabin out in the woods that his dad owned in the Midwest somewhere. And I never heard from the guy again. And I called that Ken Hamblin about a week before 2000 hit, and I was just really scared. He talked to me for a long time, but even back then, I remember thinking that that was it. So just want to toss that in. I know I ramble a bit, but please, Mike, continue.
oh,
Sorry.
no, no. Yeah, I really wasn't that deep into it at that point in time. So it was 9/11 that first piqued my interest in, investigating the truth. And like I said, as I started pulling that string and realizing how many lies were out there, I started shifting topics. Again, it was still within the secular perspective. So the thing I got into next was probably the stock market and the creation of money. So I don't know if you've seen Mike Maloney's Hidden Secrets of Money, but it's just
No, but is it about the fiat system?
right. Yep.
Yeah, that's disgusting. I know it's, well, basically, for people who don't know, it's paper, right? So the bank has paper and they give it to us, and then they charge us interest on it, and we give them back their paper, and then we give them back our money. And that's kind of the basic idea, I guess. But go ahead. What do you think?
Yeah, it's pretty much what Mike Maloney's video has done. And anyone that's in the chat, if you haven't seen that yet and you're not fully aware of how the fiat money system works, go ahead and type in Google Mike Maloney's Hidden Secrets of Money, because it's a very short animated film. And he puts it so succinctly and so clearly that it is a mathematical probability that this whole thing will fail relatively soon. So just like what KJ said, all of our money, 100% of all federal notes are borrowed from the Federal Reserve, and they all have interest on it. So even if we paid down 100% of our federal debt, we would still owe interest. And on top of that, if we paid all of it back, we would have no money in circulation. And so you can't trade. So when all these politicians say, oh, we're going to balance the budget, we're going to pay down the debt, blah, 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 it's all lies. If you pay 100% of the debt down, you have catastrophic deflation to where everyone basically gives all their dollar bills back to the Fed and you can no longer trade. So again, that's just another one of the huge lies. 9/11, a lie. Our whole monetary system, not only just within the United States, but globally, a lie. And you just keep on pulling that string more and more and more. It's just more lies, more lies, more lies. So that's, when I started to get into the physical preparedness. My background is I was raised Catholic. I fell away from the church for a while. But while I was doing all this preparedness stuff, I started seeking Christ again. I never really felt right in the Catholic Church. I just felt that there was a lot of things wrong with that. And while I was going through all this preparedness stuff and finding out all these different lies, I was like, there's got to be some truth here. There's got to be one truth that I can hold on to. And it was, let's see, it was relatively soon. Like, it was 2015, I think I was saved. So I haven't been a true saved Christian for very long. But once I was saved and I felt something different, that's when I started getting into the spiritual realm. So I completely shifted my focus out of finding truth in the secular world and started analyzing the spiritual world. And I just have been blessed with incredible discernment, because I'm not an expert in symbology. I'm not an expert in history. I'm not an expert in the Bible, but there's certain things that just come to me naturally, and I can only attest that to God.
Yeah, I was telling a friend that exact thing recently, that we were talking about kind of the way we make videos and looking into things or whatever. And, I'm not a Bible scholar. I am listening more to the word, but it's because I, I didn't do it for a long time because I know I needed to, and that bothered me. I'm such a person that hates rules and restrictions that I battle even that, which wasn't cool, because I've always had a relationship with God, even when I was a little kid. And my thing is just, it's a knowing ending. You see some things and you just get it, and that's what it is. And it comes from the Holy Spirit. I can't throw down a lot of scripture sometimes to back that. I am working on that because I'm looking at it in a different way. It's just another way to know God. I feel like I know him in a very, kind of strange way, and I've got the numbers and he shows me those things like the 111s, and, I get that, but have more scripture to, not just to back me up, but also just to get me through the day. I've been reading daily devotionals with someone every day here for quite a while in the mornings, someone real dear to me, and it's helping out quite a bit. I got to be honest, because I'm patient and I have a lot of the fruits of the Holy Spirit. I know that, I'm calm and I'm peaceful and all this, but no matter what, looking into the stuff we look into, I watch a lot of things now. I have cable in America. I didn't have it back in Central America, and I'm watching things. I'm getting video ideas, but at the same time, it'll impress you, man. I can go a couple hours on investigation discovery, and I'm just bummed out,
Yeah. Yeah, I'm trying to do the same. I'm doing a 90-day plan, trying to go A to Z throughout the Bible, just to arm myself with the word. But you're right. Once you start getting into the occult and researching them, and it is really interesting about how these lies have propagated through time. It can really suck you in. So I totally get that. Where sometimes you got to take a step back.
What was one of the strange, whenever you started making that shift and you wanted to start getting more into, because you're a teacher, we're teachers. I look at myself as a teacher. I've never said I'm religious. I never said I'm a prophet, nothing like that. But I think through the Holy Spirit that we can be teachers, in questioning these things. And I love a lot of the things you question, man. The frog video I saw recently, that was very interesting, man. Like I said, I like, you're unique, it's original, and I appreciate that about you, because I feel it's coming from a very authentic place in your spirit. And that's the stuff I look for in other people sometimes. I don't want to see news, right? In conspiracy realms, I don't want to see news. I get
Yeah.
news.
Yeah, and that's the unfortunate thing. That's why I like your channel. There's a whole bunch of channels out there that put unique content out there, things that are hiding behind the veil. But there are so many truther channels out there that just regurgitate what's on Drudge Report, that it's just, I don't know, it's just not worth it to me. It's just not my cup of tea, I guess.
No,
Um,
I agree. I agree. There's a lot. Well, what was it that changed you, man? Do you remember that? When were you like, I need to start exploring this and showing it to people? I mean, what was that moment for you? Do you remember?
yeah, so I'll give you a synopsis real quick. I'll actually share my testimony with people on my webpage because I have it all written out. But my personality is, I don't want to say I'm non-emotional, but I'm less emotional than most, right? When things get a lot of people all teary-eyed and they're just struck with emotion, my personality is more analytical, right? And that's how I live my life. And this is good background for everyone, because the change in my life, I was filled with emotion. And that's where I believe I was blessed with the Holy Spirit, or baptized by the Holy Spirit. But how I was talking about, the preparedness aspect of my life, I was finding all these lies in almost every single aspect of our life. I mean, look at anything you want to talk about. And again, maybe not everyone believes in these things, but in our environment, chemtrails, you could say that's a lie. You were talking about flat Earth. Some people are thinking that's a lie. The food we eat is all contaminated with glyphosates and all these things, and you could say that's a lie. Our politics are a lie. Just like I did that frog video and the symbolism and what's being put in our
Yeah.
cartoons, that's a lie. I mean, you go throughout every single aspect of our socioeconomic lives, and it's all lies. And so I had fallen away from the Catholic Church. I still believed in God. I guess at that point I was more agnostic. And I was trying to learn my way to Christ. I wanted proof. And I was using the internet and books to try to find proof that Christ was God. And you can't do it. I mean, you just can't do it. You run into so much misinformation and disinformation on the internet. You've probably seen some of these memes saying, "Oh, the Bible was just pagan religions reinvented again," and you just can't prove
Absolutely.
it. You just
Yeah, I've done
cannot
videos.
prove it. Yep, and that's where
I've,
it comes down to faith. So what happened with me personally was I had a mentor from a Christian perspective, and he was guiding me around the way. And one day, I think he told me just to, just have an open conversation with God in a quiet spot, and he'll give you answers. So what I went to do was I went to a park alone, and I honestly just submitted myself. I just had a personal conversation with God in my mind, and I said, you know what, I I can't find the truth. I have absolutely no idea how to find the truth. And I was like, I just completely submitted and said, please give me the answer that I'm seeking. And something came over me that filled me with emotion. And remember how I said that I'm not really an emotional person. So to have this
yeah,
come out of nowhere was really unique and really strange. But I had this analogy pop into my mind, and it was of a little child running into the street, chasing after their ball, and a car was about to hit this child. And then there's a father who sees his child running out in front of this car. He jumps in front of the car, saves his child's life, and he dies in the process. And I almost heard God say to me, what is the difference between that father saving his child and Christ saving you? And I thought about that for a second. I was like, if we saw that on the news, that was on USA Today and it was national news, and we saw this father jump in front of this car. I mean, no one would say that that father was seeking fame. No one would say that that father was crazy. I mean, they would just say it was a pure act of love. And so when we try to think about this from the spiritual perspective, people pull out all those guns against Christ saying, oh, he was a crazy man, or, oh, he was, I don't know, doing it for fame, or all these things. And it doesn't make sense when you use these very common application analogies, like the car. So just with that very simple analogy, I was like, and I just found peace, and it worked for me. And at that point, I knew Christ was real just because of, again, I attribute it to being baptized by the Spirit. Like I felt it.
I
And then
love
what
that,
happened
man.
afterwards, there was some
Go
really
ahead.
incredible things that happened in my life afterwards too.
Yeah, go ahead. Sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off. I was just going to say I loved that, man. I was right there with you as you're explaining it. Beautiful, beautiful, man. And that's it. You may have had other moments where you started crying. I do, where you get just overwhelmed with the spirit, and it just moves you, in private, and it's beautiful. And you're right. It's like I love how God talks to all of us in a way that we will understand individually. It's beautiful. But please continue. That's
Yeah.
great, man.
Yeah, I was just well, the only thing I had to say about that was, it was like for a solid after that baptism by the Spirit, I mean, there was like a solid 3 months where I was not consumed by sin. Like all the vices that I typically had trouble with, they became effortless. It was just so strange. I just had no want or desire for any of the things that I wanted previously. Just a very incredibly strange feeling. But then after time went by, and just as with any Christians, we have ups and downs. Sin started creeping back into my life, and then I start thinking about the difference in doctrines between once saved, always saved, and all these other things. I mean, where I
Hmm.
stand right now is that I do believe in the once saved, always saved doctrine, but still, it's something that Christians have to admit. Round Saturn's Eye is actually going through this same type of thing. Is Christians tend to try to put up a front, right? None of us have problems. We always want to put our best face forward. Everyone goes to church and is happy and is smiling, patting each other on the back. Oh, hey, how are you doing? Oh, I'm doing great, Joe. You? Oh, I'm doing well. But no one actually says their struggles, right? And it creates this false sense of security. Like you see everyone, it's like social media, right? Everyone else is happy. I must be happy too. And it really is a disservice because you can't seek out brothers and sisters to help you with your struggles because we've all got them. But like I said, I'm going through struggles daily, battle the flesh daily. I have people that I talk to and mentors, just as you said, you have the same. Some of the other channels I respect, like Round Saturn's Eye, I mean, he's very honest and open about the daily struggle with sin. So we all go through it, but it's through the grace of God that we're all saved.
Yeah, I like that. I'm the same way, man. I looked into all the different, you know, perspectives as well. And through the years, even in the military, when I would live in different places, I would go to churches by myself often and just, I was looking, man. I was searching. I was always seeking. I knew, because I knew God in my heart already, and I felt Him in my life, but I felt I had to be a part of something organized for whatever reason. And then I wound up getting into a cult, and I mentioned that in the past on the show. Didn't last long. I wasn't brainwashed or anything, but that was pretty much the end of my quote organized religion, you know. And then I started reading the books, you know, the Book of Mormon, English version of the Quran many years ago. It was back when I was in Hawaii still. Like that. Not that I was going to convert, but I was curious about what was in there. And, you know, life and teachings of the masters of the Middle East and things like this, you know, and all the major religions have several things that are totally in common. And you're right. There's a lot of the people, Jesus is this, is, you know, he's Horus, he's that. I did a video debunking all that stuff, but, you know, it takes a lot of time to put all that stuff together because there are some, on the surface, there's some good arguments for that, you know, for the New Agers to say Jesus isn't real and blah, blah, blah on the surface. But when we go a little deeper, and actually in some places just applying straight logic, you know, if you dare, then
Mhm.
you'll see the real truth. There really was a Messiah. You know, we know that the Romans changed some things around, and this is where paganism entered Christianity in a lot of ways with Easter and, you know, Christmas and things like this. And even the image of Jesus, many people believe is Constantine. You know,
Mhm.
so that's interesting too. Is that really the image? But we're not even supposed to worship graven images, right? So that's why I've never been into that. You know, into you know, I don't care what Jesus looks like. You know what I mean? But I don't think it's that. You know, but either way, yeah, so I'm right there with you, man. I was always seeking, and I finally came back to the point where I believe exactly. You know, you once saved, always saved, with the caveat that faith without works is dead.
Mhm.
So, in that, I mean that I truly try to follow the ways of Christ, and I try to really live that way, and I've still maintained that childhood view of what Christ is and my relationship with God. I still try to stay innocent in that, you know.
Yep.
But that feels right to me. You know, go ahead, please.
Oh no, no, you're spot on. I mean, and God uses the child sacrifice at least two times, two other times in the Bible that I've seen, where he asks a father to sacrifice his son, or there was another individual in the Bible where he sacrificed his own daughter. So he shows us how hard that is, and God sacrificed his son for us, and for us to not want to please him is essentially disrespectful, right? I mean, we can be saved, and he can cover our sins with his blood, but we still, we want to be like him. We want to do good works to please him, because I don't, for someone to die for me, I don't want to disrespect them. But
Yeah, yeah.
it's always a struggle.
It's beautiful, man. It's nice hearing your testimony. I appreciate you sharing that with us, and I just, you know, that's what it's all about, man. It really is. And don't get me wrong, you know, I'm always going to be making the videos on shape shifting UFOs and stuff like this. I mean, because I'm also fascinated by all the weird stuff in the world. And to me, it all comes together. To me, the strange, paranormal, and supernatural stuff is just more evidence of a life outside of this, you know. And I've always seen those as lures in my tackle box of making videos to try to lead people in that direction. You know, let's get them out of the world. And I've had a lot of people that have written to me that have said that at one point they were agnostic or atheist, and what brought them to understanding Christ ultimately was through conspiracy theories, so to speak, not just
Yeah,
mine, but even other people. And that's wonderful. It's a great gateway drug into the truth in a lot of ways.
yeah.
Um, website, I'm going to start trying to do more videos, at least maybe even once a day, where I put like a scripture out there. You know what I mean? And I'll make some cool visuals or whatever I do. I'm still trying to figure it out, but I want to do something unique and original, but I still want to make sure that we're getting something out there in a positive sense. But again, I can never really feel like I could be a quote preacher. And that's just because the religion I was raised in, is the Church of Christ. And we're very humble people. At least they are in the church. Like if someone starts raising their hands like Jesus, it's like people get really awkward. We
Yeah.
want to talk to them afterwards and say, hey, don't ever do that again. Okay. So I'm still kind of carrying that with me as well. And like I always say, that's my issue with organized religion, is that I think people should know the Bible for themselves or have their own relationship first and foremost. Then if you want the community for whatever reason, that's fine. And, whatever, but just be careful, because even with symbolism, most of these churches have the pyramid with the sun. It's because a lot of them are
Yeah.
masonically run in some respects. But go
This is
ahead.
where I appreciate everyone that's listening and all of our subscribers who aren't on today. You know, what we do is rather unconventional. And I really appreciate this opportunity to talk with you, because you really, in everyday life, can't talk about these things with people, even in your own church, right? I mean, some of these things are rather taboo, even in your own church.
Oh yeah.
But with how unconventional it is, I had always questioned God, like, should I really be doing this? Like, is this my calling? Because it's a little strange. But what you said is, sometimes people find God through conspiracies, and a lot of my subscribers will reaffirm to me in the comments and say, wow, I am pursuing a better relationship with Jesus, or I never have before, and I'm just starting because of your videos. And that type of feedback is great, because it reaffirms that, oh, actually, as part of the body of Christ, I am fulfilling a portion of bringing people home, and then that's cool, because without that feedback, I wouldn't have really felt that way, just because of how unconventional this material is.
Are there people close to you in your life, whether it be girlfriend, family, friends, that, because you said it's hard to, we really can't talk to people about this. And I agree. I mean, my own family, even the other night, I was with some friends that are from where I'm at. I'm back in back in America. And I saw some friends from high school and, had a few drinks, hanging out, just chatting. And I kind of went off into the territory where I was talking about what I'm into. It was just whatever one of the subjects. And I had to stop because I could see that deer in the headlights look entering all of their eyes. And I'm like, oh, vey, here we go. I
Yeah.
can't be doing this. So I switched it around, made a joke, and we just got out of it. So, but are there people in your life at all, anybody that you can turn to and talk to about, at the very least, about your relationship with Christ?
Yeah, talking about Christ, definitely there's lots of people. But anytime I start to rock the boat a little and start getting into either prophecy or symbolism, there's only one guy at work who loves to talk about this stuff. So we every once in a while, every other week or something, we'll take a walk around the building and talk about things. And some of my videos have actually been inspired by our talks. So it's really good to have him there. But other than him, um, I really can't say that there's anyone that is in my real life that I can talk to about this stuff. Now, my wife, she's actually not saved, and she's really not into the prophecy and the spiritual things. But I've shown her some stuff, and she's like, "That's freaking weird." Like she's coming along slowly, but whenever I get a video with a lot of hardcore evidence, I mean, even she's sort of squinting her eyes like that. Yeah, that is pretty strange, and she, would actually talk to other people about it. So you just got to work on them. But at the same time, there's some people are just violently opposed to it, and you got to be careful, like especially at my work. And I'll tell everyone on the live chat here this, because you probably don't know, but there was a video that I had posted several months ago, and I actually had taken some pictures at work of some really creepy symbolism and posted it into a video. Well, someone was so upset with that they called HR and told them about me and my channel, and I got busted. I
Are you
almost,
serious?
yeah, I thought I
Wow.
was going to lose my job. And not only is sitting in with HR, uncomfortable. But imagine sitting with HR talking about this subject. I mean, I was like,
You see, the Illuminati is.
I mean, what do you say to HR at that point? I'm like, the first thing I let off with is, I know this is taboo, but so anyways, they let me go. They let me slide. They just said delete the video, delete the video, whatever. But yeah, it's just some people are just so violently opposed to the content that you just got to watch who you talk to. And when you start getting that deer in the headlight look, you just got to, cut it off.
Hey man, I was looking at the chat as I've been listening here, and I saw somebody asking for us to pray for them because they have homosexual tendencies, which brings up an interesting subject. I'd like to just see where you're at, and we'll get into the symbols and all that, of course, here in a while. I really like just kind of chatting with you here and getting to know you. No, J Ma, I am not Joe Rogan, and I'm not Bill Hicks, and I'm certainly not Alex Jones. Which Alex Jones, it was interesting. He came out and he did that whole apology to Alefantis and backed off Pizzagate. I don't know if you saw that or not. Did you see that?
Oh, no, I didn't.
Yeah, he's got a video out where he does like 5 minutes just explaining that, that Pizzagate's a farce. Nothing to see here, folks. He's sorry for Alefantis, anything he may have done. So they got to him. I mean, they probably got to him a long time ago, obviously, in some respects, but yeah, he totally backed off of that. But with the homosexual subject, whether that was a real question or not, because it's hard to tell sometimes in here with people, but it's still a legitimate question because having cable again, like, I just can't help it. I just did that video called The Cuckening, the way that men are portrayed in commercials now.
Mm-hmm.
And it's just nonstop. It's like everything I see, everything's femmed out. The dudes are femme, and then there's action movies with female leads, which is fine. I can understand that. But I see the topsy-turvy happening. And I imagine how tough it is for these young people coming up in this beast system and just being inundated with this propaganda.
Yeah.
So I do believe a lot of them are going to ankle that way without even realizing why. And then there's the excuse, oh, but I was born this way. And then how all that happens. But what are your thoughts on some of this? And go ahead.
Yeah, it's funny you said the born this way, because that was one of my videos I did over the past couple weeks, right? Was Lady Gaga at the Super Bowl, who is Catholic, proclaims her bisexuality and says it's all right, and they're really twisting the word, and a lot of people are growing up not hearing the truth. So it's definitely very overburdening for people that don't have mentors or don't really have a way to seek the truth. But my personal opinion of it, and again, I'm not so savvy as to say this verse or that verse in the Bible, but it is pretty clear that in the Bible it says that homosexuality is an abomination to God. And I completely understand how that is a struggle for people, right? So all of us are born with some vice. Every single one of us has it. Some people, like me, I don't have an issue with alcoholism. I don't really like to drink, but there's some people, obviously, that just for some reason, you can say it's biologic disposition or whatnot, but they have a real struggle with alcoholism.
Sins of the father, I think, too, that carry for generations is part of that as well. But you're right. Continue.
Right. Yeah. So whether it's alcoholism, and not to say that these are all equal things and I'm making comparisons, but just vices in general, each of us has, the flavor of the week or whatever vice really tempts us the most. Homosexuality, whether it's drugs or alcohol or weed, or even if you're heterosexual and sexual immorality, there's a lot of things that feel good, right? So even a heterosexual relationship, right? We're supposed to be married before we start engaging in sex, and you can really love someone. I mean, it feels good to love someone and have premarital sex, but according to the Bible, that's wrong. Just like a homosexual, right? They can really love another woman or another man, but it's wrong. Or you can really love alcohol and it really makes you feel good, but it's wrong. All the things that are sinful in some way, shape, or form make us feel good. It's just that we have to live in the Word and know that that's not right and battle it daily. So, I really feel for the people that are homosexuals and are wanting to be saved. I mean, it is a constant struggle for them to try to resist that. But again, for some reason, that is their vice. That is the sin that they try to have to battle daily. And their sin is really no different than, someone else's sin that they have to battle daily. So,
Yeah, I love the way you put that, because I've said that in the past as well in a different way, but that's how I look at it too. Everyone's born with these sinful inclinations. I was a little thief when I was little, and we all have our thing, and I've also been big into escapism my whole life. I've always felt bored real easy. I'm sure a lot of other people are like that. So I was into different drugs throughout the years and drinking and stuff like that, and just always looking for an escape. So, and then I'm luckily, homosexuality wasn't the monkey on my back, so to speak. But I know a lot of people have that, and it doesn't mean we're supposed to give in to that. Like you said, we're supposed to try to work through these things and truly follow the ways of Christ, and those aren't the ways of Christ. Neither is being a thief. So that's the key right there. And the wages of sin are death, and not just spiritual death, which is a part of that metaphor, I think, but it's also physical death. So many homosexuals kill themselves, or they'll kill each other, and same like straight people as well, but that's probably more like rage and lust and all that mixed in together. But
yeah.
yeah.
And here's a key thing, because I want to cover this in my next video. I'm actually working on it right now. But in the New Testament, there are 3 Greek words for judgment. I forget what they are, but there is one form of judgment that the Apostle Paul says that we as the church should do. And that is basically the church body instructing others what they have done wrong. So if you see someone that's a homosexual and still believes in God, and thinks it's right, I mean, you as a church body have the duty to instruct them about the word. So, a lot of people say, oh, don't judge this, don't judge that. According to the New Testament, there's 3 differentiations of judgment, and there is actually one that's appropriate for the church body to do. So, I think there's 3 instructions as you're supposed to first engage them in private and try to rationalize with them so that they can see their own wrongdoing. And if they still can't see it, then you bring in 2 other brothers or sisters and you have a quorum about it. But we're still instructed to guide people with the word.
Oh, sorry, man. Go ahead.
Oh, no, I was finished.
Okay. Well, one thing I wanted to get to, though, as well is, and we were kind of angling that way earlier, but so when did you start the YouTube channel and start switching the gears, on the videos and all that? What was kind of that whole process for you when you really kind of stepped out and became a teacher in this respect with symbols and more of the spiritual language that's really opening up more and more around us all the time now?
Yeah, it's been about, so I've been blogging for about 2.5 years. I've had the YouTube channel for 2 years. And I think it was probably June or July of 2015 that I started to look into the spiritual things. I actually have to go and look back through my old videos to see my own progression. I think that would be interesting just to see how, again, I pulled that string and went from topic to topic. But it really was like right after I was saved, and I knew that this was no longer a battle of fiat money and governmental lies and things like that. It was a spiritual war. And then you see all this crazy stuff going on, right? I mean, every day we're getting bombarded with new news, whether you talk about the whole UFO conspiracy being demonic aliens, or you talk about CERN, or just anything out there. It's fascinating, the spiritual war that's going on. And so I was really enlightened to all of that after I was saved about 1.5 years ago. So that was the pivotal shift for me. And when I started investigating all these things, and for my regular subscribers, you'll know that the majority of my content focuses on the Catholic Church, because, I previously was Catholic. Once I was saved, I finally realized why I did not like all the Catholic practices. Then as I started to read the Bible, I started attributing the Roman Catholic Church to the harlot that rides the beast, this church that is in control of the one world order, fascinating things there, especially with what you're seeing just within the last couple months.
Agenda
With
2030 as well, which I think will be here a lot sooner than that, but that's a part of it, right?
what's that?
It's the Pope's Agenda 2030 is basically a refashioned Agenda 21,
Oh yeah.
and he's been working with Rick Warren, and Rick Warren's working in Chrislam to bring Islam and
Hmm.
Christianity together, and now the Pope's working with Rick Warren, so you can connect these dots and see exactly where we're heading. But go ahead.
Yeah. And I don't want to get into timelines again. I put out all my thoughts in one video about my rough estimates on timings, but I think we're really, really close. A lot of people thought we were super close and that the end was here back in 2015 in the fall, and a whole bunch of creepy stuff happened. And almost every spring and fall, there's just another boatload of stuff that happens. But I'm really looking at this year and the next year as like a culmination of all these pressures coming together, right? To even take out the spiritual perspective, and let's just listen to the financial analysts and what they're saying about quantitative easing and the Fed and the whole bubble bursting, and this is going to be the worst depression that we've ever gone through. Even if you just look at the secular catalyst that might start this off, I don't think that can hold off until 2030. I really think that we're really at the precipice of something big happening.
I feel you.
Um,
I feel you. I think that same thing. I think the 2030 is a red herring. It's already all this stuff's coming into play. They turned a certain aspect of the internet over, of course, to the UN not long ago. And now we're seeing Facebook, Twitter, and YouTube straight up censoring people. And
mhm.
I believe they're preparing for whatever this event's going to be. Like I said, I think that that's a big part of it because they know we're all going to be talking to each other, so they have to shut it down now because once another 9/11 hits or something happens, the minute we talk about it, well, that's going to be considered
Yeah,
inappropriate material.
yeah. So yeah, I mean, the YouTube stuff, the financial stuff, I mean, that is all at a very close pivot point. But then you start to combine that with the spiritual things happening and a lot of the stuff that I cover. And the two biggest things, like a lot of people don't believe me or don't agree with my position that the Roman Catholic Church is the harlot that rides the beast. But if you just looked at a couple of headlines that have just happened this year, it really is Bible prophecy fulfilling itself. So you had all the top world business leaders meeting with Pope Francis and looking for his direction. And that only happened a couple months ago. And then on March 24th, the 27 leaders of the EU, there was actually 28, but one was missing. 27 leaders of the EU met with Pope Francis for his guidance to help resurrect the European Union. And you just got to be asking yourself, why is the Pope so popular? Why is he Time Magazine's Person of the Year? When Christianity is being persecuted at its most right now worldwide, why are all these atheist politicians and everything meeting with the Pope at the Vatican looking for his guidance? Even if you're not religious, you got to be scratching your head like, what the hell? Um,
Yes.
and I just have to say that it's Bible prophecy. When it talks about this woman that rides the beast, you have to understand that the symbol of a woman in the Bible means a church body, right? So we talk about, this whole rapture thing, whether you're pre or post rapture, you are the bride of Christ. It is a woman. That's a symbol of a woman. It's the church. And so likewise, when it talks about this woman, this harlot riding the beast system, it is quite literally a church that is in control of these world leaders. A lot of people think Mystery Babylon or this harlot is also Islam, but you're not seeing the same type of engagement in Islam in terms of people submitting to Islam. Like, if I asked anyone today who's the top authority of Islam, out of all their members, can you name the top imam? I don't think a lot of people can, but everyone
Yeah.
knows Pope Francis. What's that?
Yeah. I'll add this. What's interesting too is how all these prophecies are coalescing together because Obama was the embodiment, I believe, of the Mahdi. Which a lot of the people in the Middle East believe in. That'll be kind of their Christ figure or the Antichrist figure. I think he embodies a lot of that stuff as well, and that's why it's hard for me to believe he's completely out of the picture. I've got a video coming out called "If You Think Obama's Done, You're Out of Your Mind," and I'm just going to show a few things about him that I've been noticing. But to play a fairly important part. I mean, it's weird. He's right by the White House. Valerie Jarrett, yeah, she moved in with him. I mean, that's his headquarters, So he's running his own game right now, and I think that's also playing into a lot of the just mainstream Trump hate. I think you're like me. I don't really fall on either side of that paradigm.
Yeah.
I'd rather have Trump than Hillary any day.
Oh, heck yeah.
And you're right. I mean, come on. And we'll see how it all plays out because, it's the beast system, and I'm not going to fall for any of these tricks. I know you're like that too, but I'd like to think that there's real hope. And I'd like to think that Trump's really fighting against the New World Order. But then there's things about him I've seen that show me that he's not necessarily a great guy. And then I have to question even things in the Bible because God will use anybody for his purpose, even bad people. So go ahead.
Yeah, and there's still that possibility. I've seen a lot of disturbing things about Trump. I'm definitely not a fan, but just like you, I definitely favor him over Hillary. But the thing that I worry with about Trump, and that we're seeing play out on a daily basis here, is right. Trump is a narcissist. He's all about himself. He ran his presidency on saying that all the mainstream media and the deep state is against him. And sure enough, once he took his presidency, that's what we're seeing, right? So the wiretapping, we're seeing leaks in his cabinet. There's some people that disagree with him in his cabinet and he instantly fires them. What I worry about all this, with all these things happening, plus Trump's narcissistic and very brash decision-making process, the beast of the earth in Revelation, some of the symbolism in there really relates to the United States of America, in my opinion. It's a common Seventh-day Adventist. I'm not a Seventh-day Adventist, but it's a very common Seventh-day Adventist interpretation. And the beast of the earth, if it is the USA, it has the power to make the world submit to the first beast before it, or that beast that the harlot's riding, the Roman Catholic Church. So you can imagine the United States has a lot of power if it is this second beast. But what's interesting with Trump is all of these things that they're doing are cornering him, right? So it's like the Trump supporters out there are going to hate me right now. But it's like cornering a rabid dog, right? You're poking him, you're prodding him, you're poking him, you're prodding him. He's having wiretaps and it's proven. That starts to make someone really paranoid and untrustful of everything. And I think that leans to very dictatorship-like personalities arising, essentially. So, right, he has these wiretapping things. I mean, I instantly start thinking about like martial law and things when if they push him too far and he's saying that he's going to crack down on the deep state.
Well, we can, even with that, we can go into the really weird realms for a moment because if we want to, and I'm sure people out there are like, yes, let's get weird. Well, here's one of the weird elements of this is, of course, Kanye had the video where he had all the celebrities laying in bed together naked, and one was Trump. And some people had questioned whether or not those were actually synthetic clones, possibly, who knows? They all looked exactly like, but then again, with, the computer, you can do anything with graphics nowadays. So regardless, so you had that idea. But then Kanye does his rant at one of his concerts. They put him away for like 2 weeks. And when he comes out, his hair's dyed blonde. And the first person he goes and visits is Trump.
Yeah.
So what do you think about that? I thought that was very interesting.
I honestly have no idea what to make of it.
Who knows? Well, it was your Trump video that I saw a while back where you had some footage, I believe, of Trump where he couldn't say that he's ever asked for forgiveness. Was that right?
Yeah. Yeah, he said it actually on 2 occasions. He said it with CNN's Anderson Cooper, and he's also said it, I forget the Fox News host, where he was at like a family summit meeting, but basically said that he doesn't need to ask God for forgiveness because he'll just try and do the right thing again. So again, but a lot of people say God can use anyone for his purposes, and that's absolutely true. But I don't like the fact that Trump totes around a Bible, flashes it in front of the screen like a token stage prop, and starts talking about how he's going to give Christians back their power when he hasn't even submitted to Christ himself.
You're right. There's even the day he signed against the TPP, he was in front of that big green pentagram. I don't know if you saw that or not, with Lady Liberty, ISIS,
Uh,
the mother horror, whatever, right there in the middle. But very interesting stuff. Now, as far as your symbolism, I saw a video a while back from you about roses and demons. Do you want to talk about that a little bit? I thought that was interesting.
yeah, and it's sort of funny because I don't know if it's coincidence or what, and I'm actually going to cover these on my secondary channel, where it's going to be a lot less formal. I'm just going to be talking things like this. But there was actually a article that came out last week about how ISIS has just uncovered the Hanging Gardens of Babylon, which was what I talked about in that Rose video. I just thought that was really interesting because the Hanging Gardens of Babylon is just not something that comes up in the news every day. But
I
I
may
do a
have to.
video on it, and then suddenly ISIS discovers the Hanging Gardens of Babylon. Go figure.
I'm sorry, Mike. I may have to steal that for a new video I'm working on, because that's actually a piece of the puzzle I needed for something. So thanks. I didn't
Oh
know
yeah,
they'd
no
found
problem.
that. I've covered how they've destroyed a lot of these other ancient biblical sites, but I didn't know about that. So go ahead.
Yeah, we're all working on the same team.
There we go. Cool.
um, but no, that one. So again, just looking back at Catholicism, I don't know how I found this guy and how his testimony, but there was some Protestant pastor who I forget his name, Gonzalez, but he, for some reason, thought that he needed to be Catholic. He needed to get out of Protestantism and be a Catholic. And he was actually raised in a household where everyone said that all Catholics are going to hell. So it's sort of like that preacher's daughter syndrome, right? So the preacher says, "Oh, you got to be holy," and then she turns into a stripper. I think that's I think that's literally what happened with this guy, right? He was living in a household where they said, Catholics are evil. All Catholics are going to hell, blah, 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 blah. And then this guy's like, I want to go see what Catholicism's about. So anyways, he he goes on this 3-day trip to this Catholic abbey, and he's asking God for a sign of whether or not he should become a Catholic. And so he's there, and his first 2 days are up, and he gets no sign. And then he starts getting angry with God, and he starts cursing God, like, why won't you give me a sign? He starts looking at Mary, and he's like, why won't you blink an eye? Why won't you move? Do something. And then, he's very vulnerable at this point. And then him and this nun smell the scent of roses. And he finds it absolutely astonishing because they both smell it. And this nun tells him, "Oh, that's actually a scent of Mary. She's in the room with us." And it actually happens like a second time, and it confirms that this is like a spiritual, supernatural thing. And he completely submits himself to Catholicism. And so, what I talk about in that video is, we have to be really careful about signs and wonders, right? Not everything is from God. So another example of this, I saw a ton of videos out there, right? This was around 2015, where there was people having signs and visions and things like that. Someone can have a vision about something that's going to happen in the future, and it may even come true, but that does not mean that that vision was from God. So there was like someone back in 2015 that was talking about things that Obama was going to do, and she turned her visions into like these voodoo doll puppets. And it was just the creepiest thing ever. And I just did not think that those visions or anything were from God. And so, the Bible even tells us to, test the spirits, because not everything is always from God. There's demonic things that know the future. And this scent of rose things, when the man was in his most vulnerable state, they used that for him to succumb to this Mary figure, this Isis deity.
Man, that's interesting, because there's a video. I've got several I just tinker with as the weeks draw on, and eventually I find what I need. But one of them has to do with, I was wondering why so many of what we call the Illuminati artists have their own perfume labels, or and even cologne. It's like, I looked it up and I was really tripping. I was like, a lot of these people that use all the same kind of satanic symbols in all their videos and whatnot, they all have their own brands, and they'll have, some of them have multiple, and I started looking into the history of the scents, and I found some really interesting things. So I'm going to put that together as well. But that's why the roses, I think, is very interesting. I'd never heard that angle of it, but that's interesting. It's just another kind of almost seduction technique, I guess.
Yeah, it's something that's pretty common throughout Catholicism is whenever you smell roses and it's unexplainable. So, if you smell roses and there's a rose bush there, big deal. Some people were actually asking me in the comments, like, I have a rose bush outside my house and I'm smelling roses. Is it still a demon? I'm like, no, there's a rose bush outside your front yard. Of course not. But when it's unexplained and there's absolutely no rose bush or no rose cologne or perfume, that could be, this demonic presence. And it's just so prevalent throughout Catholicism because so many people say that they've had that happen to them. And as many of the subscribers know, there is a profound Mary worship within Catholicism, and I just think it's a deception.
So I'm curious to bounce back to something though, because you and I didn't really cover it as far as what your perspective is, but what do you think about the idea of Obama being like the Antichrist and still being involved somehow, or maybe when the event happens, the world's going to hate Trump already so much, and we see that programming. It's everywhere on every single network I watch. It's all anti-Trump, and all the late night talk show guys are pushing anti-Trump. So I know that's a form of programming, and I feel that that's what their programming is for again, for potentially for the event when Trump gets taken out, and maybe Obama moves back in or somebody else takes over, and maybe Trump and Pence will be taken out. I don't know, but I mean, any thoughts on that?
Yeah, so I guess the thing that I think would mimic the Antichrist the most, or my thought about who the Antichrist would be, really follows along, I guess, like Steve Quayle and his thinkings. So I don't think the Antichrist is going to be just a man, right? So people have said Obama's the Antichrist, Trump's the Antichrist, the Pope's the Antichrist. These are all men that are, have definitely failed multiple times publicly. And I just think that if we really are in the quote unquote end times and Satan has been preparing for this moment for eons, he has done a really crappy job in selecting an Antichrist candidate.
So I agree, and that's why I think that sometimes we do get a lot of red herrings with these people, and that what'll happen, and I put this in a video I did about the whole deception of who Jesus really is, that what if it goes back to another subject I cover a lot, and I believe you've covered it a bit as well, but the alien deception we're programmed with. What if that's a part of it? World War III starts, suddenly the missiles are stopped because the aliens come down, the orbs, they meet with Obama, or not Obama, but Trump, or whoever it is, right? They come down, they do their thing. And what if like the leader looks just like the Jesus image we've been given for so many years? I mean, I'm just throwing it out there. I'm not trying to be blasphemous, but it's just something that I genuinely wonder, because that would be an amazing deception, because the world's going to love this guy, right? We're all going to cheer for him. And Obama had some of that, but it was a bit superficial. Go ahead.
Yeah, sorry. I agree with what you've said. I don't know how it would roll out, but my perception is, right, the Antichrist figure can do signs and wonders just like Christ did signs and wonders. And Christ was both man and both God in flesh, and he could do amazing spiritual things. So I think this Antichrist figure would essentially be the same, just the antithesis of Christ. And if you go back to the story of Adam and Eve in the garden, and I know there's a little bit different interpretations of exactly what biting the fruit meant. Some people think it was the seed of Satan, or some people actually just think it was knowledge and wisdom. But going off of that knowledge and wisdom premise, where the serpent tested Eve and Adam and said, bite from this fruit and you will receive the knowledge and wisdom of this world. I think that at the beginning of time, when that happened, that will happen at the end of time. And so when we think about aliens, what do we attribute them as? We think of them as intelligent beings having all knowledge and wisdom. And so how convenient would that be, right? That at the beginning of time, we were tempted with the knowledge and wisdom, and at the end of time, here they come back again with solutions of the world, with all powerful knowledge and wisdom, and the world falls for it all over again.
Yeah, I think Black Child just did a video recently about alien technology being used right before our very eyes, and it was a good one. It showed a lot of real footage of some of the technology the military has now, and you do have to question if that really is the Area 51 connection. You know, we get into some of that stuff, and but then again, even with that, I think that's just the story they sold us, because ever since the beginning, we've known that there's people hiding in the groves, doing ritual sacrifices, hiding the mysteries, and this is the way it's been, I believe, for a very long time. So, I believe ultimately at the top of that pyramid, of course, are the fallen ones, you know, and Satan himself. So somebody at the top, one of these witches, whether it be a Zionist Jew, you know, or whatever, because I know that it's all connected with all these different groups. But whoever it is, I truly believe they're getting their knowledge directly from the devil, you know, through rituals and practices in the dark and the shadows. But that's me.
Yeah. Yeah, and there's something there's a lot about the world that we don't know, especially from this higher technology point of view. I mean, when you look at these megalithic structures that they're finding in Russia and China, and all of our modern equipment couldn't possibly have moved these things into place, as well as some of the cuts and right angles that were being done back then. There was a lot that we don't know, and there was some life, whether it be this demonic alien or whatnot, that gave rise to these technologies. I see that all coming back, in the quote unquote end times period.
Well, have
And
you
again,
ever?
that's going to woo people.
Oh, totally, totally. I mean, I've covered a lot of the transhumanism stuff myself. Of course, Nicholson does, a guy I like a lot. But here's a fun one for you. I don't know if you've seen this or not, and I'm not sure who originally discovered this, but I've covered it in some videos. I'm not the first one to see this, but it's the Apple logo. You know, the Apple logo, you can put two side by side and they literally form the face of a gray alien.
Oh, I did not know that.
Yeah, so that when I see things like that, again, it goes right back to what we're talking about right here, that they're back, as in the days of Noah. The technology is here. We're just waiting. I think in some ways, we're waiting for the revelation. We're waiting to see them, you know, straight up, and for them to be brought into the world stage. And that could be the full on final completion of the one world order. And that'll be like, if you don't want to join this new peace loving society where there's no judgment and you can do what you want, then you're going to get your head chopped, or you're going to have to go to the FEMA regions and be in a camp. I mean, I genuinely wonder if that's a part of it.
Yeah, I'm actually looking at that picture right now. That's pretty creepy.
Isn't that crazy?
Yeah.
For those of y'all listening, you should check that out. And again, that'll just show you right there where this technology comes from. And I've covered a lot of this as far as we're literally carrying scrying mirrors in our pockets with these phones, these iPhones connected to another world, another dimension, you know, the virtual world. TVs are all huge black screens now, scrying mirrors. It's the same thing. These are these altered realities that we're opening up and joining in.
Yeah, and you remember do you remember Ronald Reagan's speech on aliens, where he said, imagine if there was an alien race that came, the whole world could be united. I think that was Ronald Reagan.
Yeah, you're right. Yeah, he was at the UN, ironically enough, when he did that, and he was talking about how we could all come together if there was some alien invasion. And then they had an Olympic ceremony back in the 70s or maybe 80s where they had a UFO and an alien actually come down out of the sky, you know, in front of everybody. So that conditioning's definitely been there for a long time. And The Arrival just came out, that movie, and so it's that stuff's never going to end. Like they're continually, even you go back to the 50s when they first started with television. When I was a kid, my parents weren't together when I was younger, but so I'd go to different parents' houses. But I'd go to my dad's house, and we always watched a channel back then in the state I was in that ran nothing but movies from the 1950s. So occasionally you get some Abbott and Costello, you know, stuff like this, but most of the time it was sci-fi, and it was all sci-fi. Like everything I saw, and I've looked this up recently, and it's a trip. You go back to those years when TV first started, and it was pretty much all science fiction. I mean, all kinds, man. It was all this conditioning about aliens, you know, visitors and the good things they can bring us. And there was some scary stuff with Twilight Zone and stuff like this here and there. But mostly it was just predictive programming, I think. And it started back in the 50s. That's not that long ago.
Yeah. Yeah, I remember the very first time on my YouTube channel that I started talking about this aliens are actually demonic entities and everything. The first time those words left my lips, I was like, "Oh man, did I just jump off the deep end. Like, if any of my friends listen to this video, I am just done. But I made mention in that video, I was like, this sounds absolutely ludicrous. But the one thing that I have on my side is all of these very prominent political and religious figures making these alien statements, right? So the one of the lead researchers at the Vatican's telescope, Lucifer, said that we're looking for what was it, Brother Martian or whatever, and how we want to baptize aliens. I mean, those are actually quotes from that man. And you also have Hillary talking about how she's going to get to the bottom of Area 51 and release those statements. And I think you even had some Apollo astronauts come out with statements about how there is alien life or whatnot. And
well, it's interesting because there's a connection there between Nancy Reagan, Ronald Reagan's wife, and Hillary were both said to have gone to the top of the White House and tried to summon spirits. And Clinton was talking to Eleanor Roosevelt, she believed. So you have that connection. We also have the Lucifer telescope at the Vatican, right? They're looking at the stars, folks, but it's called Lucifer. So yes, I'm right there with you, Mike. I mean, it's all right there. Go ahead.
oh yeah, just it really fortifies your opinion to say that I'm not that crazy. When you start seeing all these politicians and religious figures and scientists even that are starting to talk about this thing, and then we're also being bombarded with the propaganda of 7 new Earths found very close to us, and this and that, and all the NASA propaganda. I mean, it almost seems as though they're preparing us. And what I find interesting too is there's a couple UFO channels that I follow on YouTube, and right, these guys are just specifically UFOs. They're saying that these are aliens. They're not thinking about this as a spiritual war or anything like that.
Secure Team, is that one of them?
What's that?
Is Secure Team one of them?
Secure Team is one of them.
Okay, go ahead.
You'll see people in the comments saying, "Oh, they're not aliens; they're demonic beings." But the actual people that lead these channels, I think they're specifically looking at these beings as just other life forms, right? And what I found interesting is that completely outside of that spiritual perspective, the people that are running these channels are saying that, wow, we are seeing a tremendous increase in UFO activity. And they're just like, we don't know what's going on, but this is amazing. There's even like a MUFON center where I live, and they were talking about UFO sightings like being astronomically high for some reason. And they're thinking about that just in their own scientific silo. But then when there's people like us looking at this from a spiritual perspective, we're like, UFOs are increasing, but there's a whole lot of spiritual symbolism and prophetic things that are happening at the same time. That's why it all relates together.
Yeah, there's something I'd put in a video just in the last few months, because the headline was that UFO activity increased, I think, like almost 60% or something. I mean, there's a bunch coming out, just like what you're saying. It's like there's a lot more sightings coming out now. And I thought it was interesting because around the time I did a video about kind of the manifestations of demons, really, and the so-called cannibalism and zombie attacks and how all this stuff's connected. But the exorcists now are even saying that they're having such a high demand for people to come exorcise demons, they can't even keep up anymore. And this is all recent stuff, and I thought it was interesting that's coming out at the same time as all these UFO sightings are coming more, into fruition.
Yeah, I did see that that report from a lot of Catholic priests saying that exorcisms are on the rise. And like I said, I'm not one of those people that says all Catholics are damned to hell. I think there are good Catholics. I think, they are being slightly deceived, not to say that they can't be saved, but yeah, a lot of these priests who are probably genuinely trying to drive demons out of people are reporting like tons of cases.
Yeah, I've said that as well. I don't think that it's like any denomination. I mean, there's a lot of sheep, and a lot of the people in these churches are genuinely well-meaning, good followers of Christ, and then there's people in the organization that are corrupt. So, and I've questioned that. There's a school in Oklahoma for exorcism. There's not many in the country, but it's like one of 3, I think. And they'll go through that with the people who, I guess, meet the requirements. But it's out there, and I have to believe some of these people are doing something right. I'm fascinated by a few things, and I research them all the time just for fun. But near-death experiences, and I also like seeing things on exorcism. And it seems like a lot of the time this is actually working, and they're invoking Christ's name. So I have to believe that is working through these people. That being said, I'm with you on the fact that the Catholic Church is completely corrupt, and the symbolism alone. Jonathan Kleck, again, he's one that's pointed out the basilisk is the basilica,
Mhm.
and the serpent and everything else. And it's all right there, man. So we know that it's run by the beast, but that doesn't mean everybody that tries to follow is a bad person.
Yeah, and the Protestant churches, all their denominations. I mean, there's issues that go on in all those as well. Um, Me personally, I go to a non-denominational church. It has a lot of Baptist-like teachings, but I don't consider myself married to any particular denomination. Actually, I go from church to church to church. So one of the things is just because I've seen that a lot of Seventh-day Adventists align with my thinking in terms of Bible prophecy. I was just thinking about stepping into one of their church sessions one day and just chatting with some of them. But yeah, I don't think we need to put each other in boxes and say that this one's right or that one's right. I'm sure there's right things and wrong things that we're all doing, but as long as we commingle and share ideas and everything like that, we can learn a lot.
Have you ever covered the Saturn symbolism or anything at all to do with Saturn?
A little bit. I had a video talking about the black cube of Saturn, um, but I haven't done a whole lot.
I was just curious. I saw somebody in the chat mentioned Saturn worship, and I think they were called Danny Luminous, and I'm hoping it's not Quasi Luminous. I'm going to go off on a bit of a tangent here. Quasi Luminous is a YouTube channel that they did something really weird a while back. They did a video on Katy Perry's eyes ship shifting to, the serpent, right? And I love those kind of videos. There's not many that are real, unfortunately, but I love that kind of stuff. And I watched it, and then anyway, we found out that it was faked somehow. So I put that in the comment section on the guy and told him, "Hey, man, this is fake. You should take it down for yourself." And he never did anything with it. And then a while back, I went and watched a different video from this guy, Quasi Luminous, and it was just some random, I think it was a flat Earth video or something. He's into flat Earth stuff. And he wound up saying that randomly, he said, KJ from the Scariest Movie ever created a sock account, and he's stalking me with it. In the middle of some video, and again, I think I was just led to that video. It was like a year later, I was randomly just, I should check this out. And it said that, and it was very strange. So I'm bringing all that up because I'm hoping you're not quasi-luminous in disguise, in virtual disguise. You could be, because I also know that he covered some Saturn. Also, a lot of the flat Earth people, the popular ones I see, cover what they call blood over intent. Have you heard of that before, Mike?
No.
Yeah, blood over intent is a whole other thing to do with Jesus, and it's very, I think it's very satanic. The views on it's a long story, but anyway, so they mentioned the Saturn worship, and that's why I brought that up. I know that's a bit of a tangent. I tend to rant from time to time
Yeah.
and ramble. But let me go and get back to you, man. So, are there any subjects in specific that you wanted to kind of bring up and talk about, or anything you're kind of working on that you think might be interesting to bring up for the people?
So right now, most of the things I'm following are the Pope and the Vatican. All the things I do with like random symbolisms, like my frog video or the monarch butterfly or all these things. Those are just little side tangents I do because I think that people might find that interesting and it may give people some answers. But what I really want to follow is, I don't want to be dogmatic and saying this is the time, this is the day that something is going to happen. But I think it's one of my duties, at least with the specialties that I have, is to warn people about the nearing time. And so I really like to follow current events, mostly focusing on the Vatican. So just now, right, with the Pope meeting with all 27 leaders of the EU, that was a pivotal thing. The Donald Trump is going to be meeting with Pope Francis in May. So I had suspected that these two would settle their differences and they would come together. I based that off of the part in Revelation where it talks about the beast of the earth and the beast of the sea coming together. In fact, you have the new ambassador to the Vatican saying that Donald Trump and Pope Francis will make amends and that they have lots of opportunity to work together. So that's something I'm going to be covering in May. And then in October 31st, this is going to be the 500-year anniversary of the Protestant Reformation. And the Pope has also inserted himself into that ceremony. My opinion on all of this, with the Pope integrating himself with Islam, with Buddhists, with Protestant religions, there's a part in Revelation where it talks about the beast had a deadly wound and the deadly wound was healed. It's my interpretation that the deadly wound is healing with the Roman Catholic Church bringing people back under its authority and regaining its power. So that's what I really like to focus on, because it starts to give people an idea of the season that we're in. And
let's explore some of those ideas. Then I'd like to hear your thoughts on that, on how you think it's coming together. And I mean, do you think it's going to take a triggering event to bring it all together? Like, how do you see this? What do you think is going to be? There's got to be something major, right? That like shakes everybody up, maybe an imp, maybe a whatever. I mean, I keep saying, and I've said this time and time again, that as long as people have got cable TV and they can go get a double cheeseburger for $1 down the road, it's like the mass majority are going to stay asleep. But what do you think it is? And please just kind of expand. I'm curious about your thoughts on the Vatican, the Pope, and all that, please.
Yeah. So, what I'd encourage people to do, and again, don't take my word for it. Study your Bible, study things on the internet, make up your own interpretations. One of the things is, right, I've made errors in the past. I'm not saying I'm error proof. I think I have a pretty good lead on things and that I'm getting the general storyline right. But again, if I make a mistake, don't think that everything's false and out the window. Just do the research for yourself. But again, I think that the Vatican, and especially the Pope, is essentially the false prophet. They are part of this harlot or this church that rides this beast system. It's the entity that controls this thing, and that is highly indicative from just some of the prior events that have happened, right? We just saw the 27 EU leaders submit to Pope Francis looking for his guidance. And so when you do have something like what you talked about, KJ, some type of black swan event, whatever it may be a major earthquake and tsunami. It may be stock market crash. It may be global war. I mean, there's just so much turmoil in the world that we have no idea. It could be a North Korean nuke. Who knows?
Planet X. Yeah, who knows?
Yeah, just any black swan event could happen. I think the world will go into turmoil. And just like those 27 leaders of the EU looked to Pope Francis for their problems, I think Pope Francis is being readily accepted as the spiritual and moral leader of the world. And when things go awry at such a massive severity, that they will look to him for his guidance. Now, you play this up with the fact that we talked about aliens and demonic deceptions and things like that. Like, what if that's the black swan event? Maybe we start going through all this turmoil, and then we have these aliens that try to bring peace upon us and try to provide us with answers why we shouldn't do this to ourselves. And we're all confused and everything. We're looking for answers. Who's it going to be? We're going to go to Pope Francis, and he's going to just say, "Oh yeah, these people are here for us. There are, I just say focus in on him. That's why all these other things that are going on around the world, right? Music videos, tons of symbolism in that. Movies, tons of symbolism in that. That doesn't really tell you how close we are. It just shows that the whole world is corrupt. I mean, we can find something in anything nowadays because it's just everywhere. But I try to focus in on the Pope specifically because I think all roads lead through Rome.
No, absolutely. Yeah, it's interesting. I don't know if you saw this before. I covered this a while back, but there's a new TV show. It's based off a comic by Robert Kirkman, and he was the creator of The Walking Dead. He made the comics, and it's a TV show, of course, now. But there's a TV show called I think it's called Outcast, and it's on some like Showtime or HBO, one of those. but it's all about a guy that's battling demons. Like demons are infesting the small town, what they are, and he can fight them. But he doesn't even necessarily believe in God, of course, in this TV show. And the most interesting part is that the town that they're infesting is called Rome.
Hmm.
The black goo symbolism and stuff like that as well. But it's just, yeah. So that's one more way that that message, exactly what you're saying, is being implemented into our minds, through popular culture. Are you with me?
Yep. Yeah. And
Right,
this
cool.
year, just with some of the things that I spoke about, some of the major events with Pope Francis, again, his meeting with Donald Trump and seeing how that all hashes out, him being in the ceremony with the Protestants, healing that deadly wound. And then the fall is usually a real turbulent time. I mean, every single fall, something's going on. We just really need to be looking at him in terms of seeing how close we are to that Black Swan event.
I agree. And, here's something else I think that might be kind of fun to do. Unless there's any other subjects that you personally want to kind of cover first. But if not, I'm over here. Let's jump over to the chat. And I just want to throw it out there to those who are watching. We have a great crowd. There's over 700 right now. So if anybody out there in the chat has a question for both of us, I'd like to maybe me and Mike both from OPP, On Point Preparedness, tackle this together. Would you be cool with that, Mike?
Yeah, I'd like that.
Let's open it up. I'm taking a look at chat. I imagine Mike probably is too. Anybody has a question? Might be easiest too if you just say question first and then put the question, because the chat goes super fast here with you guys. Let's see what happens. Why not? Let's have a little fun. I'll mix it up a little bit. But Mike, really though, man, I appreciate all your thoughts on that, man. And I agree. All roads lead to Rome. We also get to the study of the Jesuits. I don't know how much you cover that, but yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. I followed the Jesuits and Pope Francis being one of the top ones.
Right. Oh, it's interesting because there's a picture out there of Pat Robertson from 700 Club doing the bear claw over his heart, which is Masonic symbol. He's on the cover of Time magazine. But the other night I had 700 Club on in the background. I like hearing some of the testimonials on there sometimes. But he came on and he started talking about the Illuminati. The guy was straight up mentioning the Illuminati. So I'd never heard them say that on that show before. And he was saying, this is the problem. The Illuminati has gotten control of the Masonic organizations. And he started getting and I was like, dude, that's stuff that I say to people sometimes. I was kind of shocked that Robertson's out there saying that. I don't know. Anyway, just throwing that out there. Did you see any questions yet?
Yeah, I'm looking at a couple. Couple people asking about transhumanism.
Sheesh, there's so much to transhumanism. I mean, first off, we already know their technology's way ahead of what they show us. So it's interesting, even again, being here and having cable and seeing the commercials. And there's so many commercials lately, and it's even put in a lot of little TV shows I check out from time to time just to see what everyone else is watching. I'm curious, but there's a lot of this push for virtual reality. A lot of it. So a lot of commercials and TV shows and everything else. I'm seeing it more and more. So if they're showing us this now, to me, in a lot of ways, it's a way to almost perhaps predict our future. I feel it's something they're really wanting to bring in. And it's just another way to separate you from, quote, reality, the reality we're in, and put you somewhere else. And there's also that scripture about how all eyes will be on the beast, right? Something in Revelation. And I wonder sometimes if that's a part of that as well, is everyone's going to be walking around with, literally plugged into a matrix and maybe having a virtual reality type thing, or even implant in your eye and having to look at the image of the beast all day long and worship it. I don't know. What are your thoughts on that? Anything?
Yeah, transhumanism, like you said, is such a huge topic, and we're just seeing so many different fronts mingling with human DNA. Like the last thing I just saw today was using plant leaves to mimic human veins. But mingling plant matter and human matter, animal matter and human matter, robotics and humans, paired up with, we're seeing this rise in cannibalism, which I don't know if it was your channel or maybe TruthStream Media started talking about the trend of cannibalism. Like all these things are just, really building up to.
I did. That's one of those that YouTube freaking blocked worldwide, man. Because I did a series. I did an epidemic of cannibalism, an epidemic of bestiality. I did this whole thing, and demonic possession, and all those have been yanked. So once again, folks, perfect plug for the website. No, I'll be putting those on my website because I've tried, even with my narcissist psychology of demons. I put it up 4 times on YouTube, and they kept taking it down. So I had to just give up. But just another kind of window into some of our the lives we lead, Mike and I and others who are doing these videos. I'm sure you're getting restricted or blocked in some ways yourself. I don't know. What's been your experience with stuff like that on YouTube? Anything in particular?
I was there was a period in time where I was getting censored hardcore, but it was mostly with secular stuff. So anytime I'd be talking about, the typical things like war and specific politicians and whatnot, I was getting flagged. But, oddly enough, I know you said you were dealing with a lot of stuff right now. They've been letting me get through pretty clean, which is surprising. So I don't know what that
No,
means,
that's
but
a good thing. Run with it. No, it's good, man. Roll with it. I mean, what tags do you use? You don't put like Illuminati and conspiracy in your tags, do you? Or do you?
no, I just a lot of them don't even have tags. I just started not doing that so much anymore. I
That's
mean, maybe that's
probably
why.
why. That's probably why. And that's a good tip for you all listening that maybe do videos like this. And I'm doing it on my newest one. I'm doing one on the Jezebel spirit. It'll be up tomorrow sometime. But I'm just going to dump the tags, maybe put basic words in there, and that's it. Because that's one of the ways they're putting us in restrict mode automatically now. That's the new algorithm. If they see Illuminati, conspiracy, New World Order, stuff like that, you're done.
Yeah.
You're done. Go ahead.
Oh, what's interesting too is I did a video a while back where the CEO of Google, Eric Schmidt, met with Pope Francis. And I know Gons at Face Like the Sun, a lot of people put out videos saying, oh, we don't know what this means. It's probably pretty significant. Maybe it's something to do with the mark of the beast. What I had thought about it was that he was talking about censorship. He probably acknowledges the fact that there's channels like mine and yours talking badly about faith, the Catholic faith and the Vatican and him especially, and how that needs to stop. And sure enough, Pope Francis put out a publicity article saying that the internet is a gift from God, but people are abusing it. And so I think that's what the meeting was between them. So yeah, it's just a matter of time. Like you said in the beginning, this will be turned off at some point. It'll be really unfortunate, but just have to make use of the time that we have.
Let me throw this one at you. Here's a question from Joe Kennedy. And this is really for us, because I think we do a lot of the same, not the same videos, but same kind of idea here. But it says, KJ, you cannot keep relying on these conspiracy videos and info. How long will you remain a babe in Christ? 2 question marks. It says a saved person knows that all Hollywood movies, sports, music are wicked. I'll answer that quickly, then I'll let Mike answer it if he'd like. Not just addressed to me, but to all of us who do these kind of videos. You said it best. A saved person knows. Well, sure. And this is why I'm not an echo chamber, and this is why I don't like organized religion. You can go to your churches and you can have a preacher preach to you and tell you his interpretation of the Bible all day long, and you can throw some money in the basket and eat a cracker and have some grape juice, and that's wonderful. You can do that stuff. But it's an echo chamber. You're in a place where everybody is in full agreement. Okay? There are different branches to this tree. Those of us that follow Christ, that have Christ, that love God. And some of us have got to get really, really freaking dirty in this war. And I'm not trying to sound, like make myself sound all special, but I know what it is. I know what I do. I've been doing it for almost a decade on and off YouTube. And this is a part of it. So we're reaching the world. To reach the world, we have to speak their language. Sometimes we have to put a title that will appeal to them, put a thumbnail up that they'll want to see. Talk their language. I'm a seed planter, if anything. That's what I do. And I know I'm not evangelical. Maybe that's God's plan in my future. I'm not sure. And I'm open to that. It's not right now. I'm doing what I do and have been for many years for a purpose. There is a method to my personal madness. I guarantee you, Joe Kennedy. I promise you. So I am reaching the world. I'm not trying to preach just to everybody who already has Christ, because I know you've got him. That's great. That's good. It's the best decision you could ever make in your life. But you're good. You're solid. You get this. It's fine. I'm probably not your teacher. Um, but please, Mike, if you want to expand on that, if you have anything.
No, I'm right there with you. Actually, someone had posed that same question on one of my videos about half a year ago, actually. They said, why you keep covering this stuff? Like, we already know this. And I said, a lot of people don't, right? So talk about the people that look into this stuff. I mean, maybe only 1% of the population is aware of the spiritual war and all this underlying symbolism out there. So yeah, all the saved people know, where they need to put their faith in Christ. They may not know all the symbolism and everything like that, but all the people who are wandering around, they're oblivious, and we need to find some trigger to bring them into the fold. And one of my taglines, it's almost becoming like a little motto of mine that I'm saying in all my videos, is I talk about this symbolism, whatever it may be, and I tell people, I hope that if you're not saved, this cultivates the curiosity for you to learn more, right? So
Yeah,
people
Mike.
starting to see the lies in everything. And this is pulling on my own testimony a little bit, where I was finding lie after lie after lie. If people like me are trying to find truth out of all these lies, and I expose some of those lies, I just say, cultivate the curiosity, seek Christ. There's channels much better than mine in terms of preaching the word. But again, I think that me and KJ are doing sort of what we've been destined or prescribed to do.
Well, you know what haunts us, and this isn't even a joke, and you probably know exactly what I mean. And people close in my life are understanding this as well. That I literally need time alone, a lot of time alone to process this stuff because I feel like I get my kind of quote assignments. There'll be videos I feel like I should make, and then I won't. And then if I wait, I see it, I feel it. I'm like, oh, that's what I have to tackle. As random as it might be to other people, like shape shifting UFOs to the cuckoning, whatever it is, I follow that thing, and I know that I'm being led to do these things, but it literally haunts my life. Like I think about this stuff all the time. I can't not. I'm learning to let more people into my life and to be more available there, but at the same time I am so married to this. I mean, do you know what I'm saying?
Yeah. Yeah, I gotta, one of the things that I'm trying to work on is I get those same tendencies where I feel like I have to do something. But I also sometimes I want to rush something out. But one of the things I'm trying to work on more is, just pray before I do research or before I start making a video. Because like I said, there's been times where I've fallen flat on my face and put something wrong in a video, and I've had to delete it, and has consequences to that. So
Yep.
I've just started praying just to, make sure this is what I'm supposed to be doing, everything like that. Not to say I'm never going to make a mistake in the future, but
No, that's great, man. Now I'm bouncing back in chat looking for other questions. If you have one that you want to throw out there, go ahead if you've seen one, Mike. But if not, I'm still kind of looking. I'm going
yeah,
back
there's
just
it's sort of hard to follow chat. It goes so
I
quickly.
know. It goes so fast. I'll shout out to the crowd. We got over 700, and not a view queen, but I certainly appreciate every single one of you listening tonight. And like I said, if you have a question, just put the word question up first, and then throw it out there. I've seen a few. Somebody asked about meditation. I saw that one earlier, and then KJ can see how nobody will have.
Or maybe if you even, I saw some people like write my channel name On Point Preparedness, or if you write the scariest movie ever, it bolds the channel name in yellow or orange. That might help
That's a
me.
good idea. I saw somebody say something about David Seaman. Someone said, "Oh, it's Innovation HQ says David Seaman is a fraud shill." Do you have any thoughts on David Seaman and the whole Pizzagate thing?
Uh, who is he? I know the whole Pizzagate thing, but I don't recall that name.
He he was a writer for Huffington Post, and he wound up getting fired because he started questioning Hillary Clinton's health, and that was a big deal. So they kicked his butt off. He started a YouTube channel, and that's around the time Pizzagate kicked in. So he started covering that. and now there's a lot of people saying that he's a shill. And I don't know where I land on either side of that. I'm glad that there's people I really respect that think he's horrible. So I'm not sure, but my feeling is I've been pretty happy he's put that stuff out there on the child pedophilia. But even with that, I have to question: is he bringing it out on God's side to build the kingdom, or is he doing it more for like revelation of the method from the enemy, even if he doesn't realize it? Do you know what I mean by that?
Yeah. So that's the state of the world, right? There's so much information, misinformation, disinformation. It's hard to make any sense of it. One thing's for sure, you just can't trust man in general. We all fall short, but yeah, I'm not sure about him specifically.
I see somebody asking, it's always the same question. I wasn't even going to repeat it, but I figured I figured I will. I know some other, because I mentioned this earlier, but somebody is disciple for Yeshua says, KJ question, what is your take on flat earth? Hug. As I said earlier, there's like less than a handful of channels that I love and respect that seem to kind of go for that. I don't hold that against them. Um, I've looked into everything with that. I've never done a video, but I've looked at all the big YouTubers that do it and all the information and the documentaries and the videos. Um, Off the bat, 40% to me were BS. Right off the bat, I was like, "That these guys are that's not and that's factual stuff that I've looked into. I was like, "There's no way." But some things make you wonder. That symbolism is in a lot of movies and TV shows and things like this. However, when I mentioned at the beginning of the show, and some of you didn't hear this about the new YouTube restricted mode, if you put restriction on at the bottom of your YouTube page and search some of your favorite YouTubers that are supposed to be alt right or truthers or Christian truthers, whatever you want to say it, conspiracy theorists, a lot of us are completely shut down. Some of us are wide open, but every main flat earth channel I looked into was wide open. They weren't restricted at all. And then every channel, well, sorry, a few that I may have looked up, but practically every channel I looked into that I've respected for years and trust, they're shut down. So I don't know. I see the psyop angle, but I also understand how good, well-meaning people could kind of get more into it. But until I see it, I just don't care. It doesn't matter that much to me, frankly. But Mike, any thoughts on the flat earth?
Yeah, I got one, and maybe, I don't know, I'd be curious to see if anyone has an answer to my question. So you've done the due diligence and looking through all those videos. I need to do the same thing. So when people talk about flat earth to me, I don't really give a disposition one way or the other because I just haven't looked into it. The one thing I don't want to do is just have complete disregard for it, right? Because you can imagine someone is a 9/11 truther and says that there was demolition in the buildings, and someone's gonna be like, "You're a crazy fool." So I'm open to anything. I personally, without doing any research, think that the world is a globe. I mean, we
Yep.
see the moon as a globe, the sun as a globe. We see creation have similar themes in terms of like the Fibonacci sequence and things like that. So I wouldn't understand why the Earth had to be different. The one question that I would have for anyone out there that is into this type of things is, right, so I did a lot of prepper stuff before I started getting into the spiritual symbolism. And part of that preparedness is getting into ham radio. People talk about communications. And
Yes.
the
Do you like Art
principle.
Bell, by the way? I have to
Oh,
ask quickly.
what's that?
Do you like Art Bell? Do you know who that is?
No.
He started the radio program that's now called Coast to Coast with George Norrie. It's every night from like, I don't know, midnight to 5 in the morning. And it's typically, used to be a lot better, but it's typically kind of conspiracy type realm stuff. But Art Bell's really big on the ham radio. And when I was in the military for 8 years, my best friend was a radio tech. He was one of the radio men or whatever. And he was really into the ham radio stuff. So anyway, just throwing that out there. Go ahead. Sorry.
Okay. So one of the principles with ham radio is there's a particular frequency that you use for local communications. So you can just go from point A to point B. It's line of sight. So as long as there's nothing obstructing your view between the two people, you can communicate. That range is pretty minimum. You can usually talk like across the city or something like that, depending on how high elevation you are. But the the one thing that all the ham radio operators say in terms of flat Earth is like, wow, if the Earth was flat, my ham radio handheld could go a heck of a lot farther than it does right now, right? I mean, you can think of if you're at a pretty high elevation and these radios emit radio waves that, just travel line of sight without a lot of disbursement, you could have pretty long ranges. And the truth is, we don't. The only way you can achieve those long ranges is if you point your signal up into the atmosphere and use the ionosphere to bounce a signal back down to Earth. So again, that's just one of the things with my background. I wouldn't understand how a flat Earth could work in that circumstance. It just seems to yield more towards the whole globe theory.
No, that's great, man. I appreciate you sharing that. Like I said, like it's to me, even on YouTube, it's deeds, not words. I've had people loving on me for a long time on YouTube, and then they'll switch real quick, and then they hate you, and they'll even launch like campaigns against you. And I feel like those are shills. That's why I take my time with people on YouTube. There's some of them I trust. I've got some friends here tonight that I've been sub for years, and I know they're good folks, and I vetted them. I'll go look at their channel and see what they're all about and things like this. But just as many, aren't your friend, and a lot of them have been flat earthers. I mean, I've never seen a subject bring so many people together like flat Earth. It's unbelievable. That's why that added to again the YouTube restriction thing. Flat Earth is fine, not restricted by YouTube, but the rest of us talking about the Illuminati or the end times, the Antichrist, you're shut down. It just makes me wonder. I
Yeah.
saw somebody keeps posting the same message here. I'm gonna see if I can find it and read it exactly. They must be copy and pasting this. Talk to them first before I do my video on the Jezebel spirit. Oh, there you are. Daylight Riders. Please, all in capitals, talk to me before you put that video on the Jezebel spirit out. Daylight, if you want to throw something down in the chat, please do. What that video is not really about the history of the Jezebel. I'm going to cover that briefly, but I believe somebody may have captured an actual Jezebel spirit on camera, and I'll explain it in the video. So it's going to be a little bit different, but it's one of the most remarkable things I've seen in quite a while. It gets into spirit photography as well, which I'll cover some of that. I've had some personal experiences with that as well, and I don't think they're good spirits you're capturing on camera. I certainly don't believe in ghosts and stuff. I think God's capable of anything, though, and I do believe a lot of people talking about having dreams after a loved one dies and seeing them in their dreams. I believe God can do that. And maybe God will let you have some form of visitation from this person, maybe for a moment. I don't know. I don't know God's thoughts. The rest are just details, I guess, as they say. But anyway, that's where I'm at on that. So Daylight, if you want to throw down in the chat, kind of, I guess apparently if something about the Jezebel you want to mention, but any thoughts on that at all, Mike, or am I just rambling here and being goofy?
No, I actually I need to study up on the Jezebel spirit. I don't really have a comment on that yet.
That's okay. I think it's really prevalent in today's society. There was some footage. It was on the news. It like ran for almost a week, and it was a baseball game in the stadium. There were like, I don't know, 8 girls sitting together, cute girls, looked like they were probably in college. But every single one of them at a baseball game outside were looking on their phones and kept taking selfies of themselves. And that imagery, that footage, of course, is worth 1,000 words. And it goes to show you in many respects where we're at with our culture and what's promoted. And it's all, what's ever on the outside. That's what matters. It's about the physical. It's about the sexy. You have to look good. This goes back to kind of the Jezebel spirit, a seductive spirit. It's all about seducing. Men want to be with you because you're sexy, instead of the woman you are. Are you kind of with me on this?
Yeah. Oh, I mean, that just the whole sex agenda consumes everything. TV, radio. I mean, I have a 2-year-old and a 4-year-old, and I struggle trying to keep them from that type of thing.
What do you let them watch to keep them occupied? I'm curious because I'm sure there's people out there with children around that age that may be curious. But I mean, because I know you've got to keep them occupied. I've had plenty of friends that have children. I've been around them. I don't have my own, but I get it. I mean, any tips you might give to someone out there that has kids, but you don't want them to watch, Nickelodeon, which has obvious horrible symbolism and themes, and a lot of these other Disney, of course.
Yeah,
Go
see,
ahead.
I battle with this with my wife, because she's not saved yet. I hope she becomes saved at some point. But she doesn't see the things the way I do, and so she once we we went on a Disney trip, right? And so, man, I was like looking all around at everything, but she wanted our daughter to watch the Disney shows and things like that. And the very first time we watched one, it had been like decades since I saw a Disney show, and I was just completely surprised with how much violence was in it, especially for like little kids. And then you see all the other ones coming up, right? The Princess and the Frog and the Moana and deities, things like that. I try to not have them watch as much of that stuff, but I'm guilty in that they have watched it. It actually starts to worry me a bit because it's like almost every single cartoon for that toddler age is centered around magic. And she's even got her little magic wand and things like that. And it's tough. The whole world is consumed by it. And there's a lot of parables and morals about how you can't be the controlling father that keeps everything away from their children, right? There's a whole preacher's daughter syndrome, right? That you protect them against everything and then they completely rebel. So it's a fine balance. You can't keep everything from them, but you hope that you teach them in the words that they can discern for themselves once they get to the right age.
Yeah, there's a friend of mine on YouTube, longtime friend, haven't talked to them in a long time on YouTube, called Dazzling One, and she did a video on paranormal romance. How a lot of these new movies coming out are based off of books that are all about young teenage girls falling in love with werewolves and vampires and stuff like this. So another introduction to the occult, of course, I believe, easily for the children. So yeah, it's got to be tough. I've seen some people talking here in the chat saying I've got kids too and I've been wondering about this, so I'm glad you're kind of covering that as well. But yeah, it's got to be tough. I mean, I guess I don't know what the show's called, but there's some like Veggie Tales. There's always Veggie Tales, I guess, where they do like Bible scriptures, but that's almost too far to the other side. I don't know. What do you think?
Yeah, I was actually going to strike a joke when you first asked the question and said I only let my kids watch Veggie Tales 100%, but that would be a
See, and
lie.
even right, and even that is again, it's back to the echo chamber. It's back to the fact that I believe we're all born in rebellion. I'm very rebellious, and I'm trying. Again, I've worked throughout my life to give my life over to Christ, but I've changed it to where I'm just rebellious against the system. But I've got that in me, and I'll always be that way. But even young ones, they are, and if they're force fed that stuff their whole life, scripture and this and that, and then they see their parents being human and making mistakes, and they're going to think it's all just a farce. And it's pretty easy to make that leap and say I'm done with all of it.
Yeah, there's no good answer, for anyone with kids. You have to restrict it, but you can't abolish it. I mean, the whole world is, bathing in evil things. And the unfortunate thing is, if you're one of those uber strict parents and you keep it away from them completely, they will rebel that much harder. And it doesn't matter what you try to keep them from, right? So there's like um, some friends of ours that are really holistic, and they only want to eat the healthy food. And kids go to birthday parties and they see everyone else eating the cake and having a good time, and they're wondering why they can't eat cake. So whether it's food or whether it's TV or any number of things, if you keep them from it completely, they'll just rebel against you so much harder. So you really got to just instill a sense of goodness in them, keep them in the word so that when they grow up, they can discern for themselves.
Good point, man. And I'll throw this one at you too. And I won't keep you much longer. We've been going for a good couple hours, so I don't want. I hope I'm okay with you. I mean, I hope you have you enjoyed this. I hope you're good
Oh
being
yeah,
here,
this has
Mike. And
been great. My kids are in bed. Hopefully they don't come and do one of those BBC reporter things and jump in the room. But
I've loved talking to you. This has been great. It's been smooth, man. I'm loving it. I'll throw this at you. I can't remember her name. The chat went by. It's a young lady, but she was asking us about CERN and Mandela effect. So before I give my opinions on that, I'd like to see what you think, Mike, about CERN. What's the purpose? Is there anything there? And the Mandela effect, is that even a real thing?
so the CERN thing, CERN, just like you said about Obama, he's going to come back on the scene. I think that's true. CERN has not really dropped off the radar, but it sort of has, right? So back in 2015, there was, the Shiva goddess, and there was a lot of quotes from the R&D director talking about black holes or different dimensions. But at least for me, it seems like that has sort of fallen on the wayside, but I think it's going to come back at some point. I do think that it may be linked to opening up the abyss. I can't really say for sure,
I
but
feel
I
that way
do.
too. Yeah, the
They're dealing
symbolism
with
alone.
nefarious things there. There's no question about that.
Now, the Mandela effect, I've had an issue with. I remember when it first hit the scene, and it had me questioning the whole Bernstein, Berenstain Bears thing. I thought that was kind of interesting. But really, since then, I've really seen people take it to extremes, and I think it's just kind of um, the tricks our minds play on us, our memory and whatnot, and then it just got bonkers. I know you probably look at GLP or Godlike Productions like I do occasionally, and
Yeah.
it just got out of control. I mean, so I see the psyops side of it. I get the idea that CERN's messing with dimensions. I put a video up a long time ago with an actual with footage of Brian Williams on NBC News saying that our we'd literally shifted like 3 degrees or something like that with our poles or something like this. And I feel like that's literally a pole shift and potentially another example of a dimensional shift. I mean, I get some of this and some of the weird things we see in the skies. And so I understand that line of thinking, but I'm on the fence with it sometimes. I don't want to go full bore because I know legitimately from my own research and looking at these things that some people are full of it with this Mandela effect crap and they're just taking it too far. I've gotten to the point I'm not really into really any of it, but I do believe the symbolism with CERN, and I do believe they're connected somehow in an occult sense with the beast system and all the things they're trying to do. But go ahead. What do you think about all that? Your thoughts?
Yeah, the Mandela effect, I'm aware of it, and that's pretty much as far as I'll go. There's some things that are so, oh, what do you want to call the Mandela effect? It's not tangible, right? It's thinking about manipulation of space and time. There's not a whole lot you can really prove with that. I think it's an interesting concept, and maybe some cursory research is fine, but I just don't feel like I need to really engage myself with it more than that because it's like a black hole. No pun
Well,
intended.
no.
It's
Well,
not going to go anywhere.
maybe you remember the scripture that God basically turned them over to their own delusions or turned them over. I don't remember the actual scripture, but that's what I feel is happening right now with a lot of this stuff. Like some people are just getting too full on out there with some of these concepts, flat earth and Mandela effect and whatever. They just go too far. And to me, they forget the Christ in it. I mean, that's the key and that's the center of it all. And that's what really matters. It's great to explore different ideas and wonder. And some things we see that are actually legit, we put those out and we get it. And we have to use our logic, our reason, our critical thinking, our common sense, our spiritual discernment. But we're really living at a time where it's all muddled. The lines have been so blurred, and you're seeing people just go cuckoo, cuckoo, and just go for like anything that happens. Suddenly, it's true. And on the other side, anytime there's an event in the world like a shooting, it's totally a hoax. Where I think it's all a mix. Some
Oh
are a
man,
hoax,
yeah.
some are mind control. Go ahead.
Yeah, I'm glad you talked about the hoax stuff because that to me is getting pretty out of control. I mean, it's almost a given, right? There's a shooting or a terrorist attack, and someone is going to say it's a hoax somewhere. I mean, there's definitely some weird stuff like with the Newtown Sandy Hook shooting, and there was definitely, I mean, there's weird things that happen in all of them actually, but it, the news of it being a hoax literally comes out within minutes or hours. You know, right? I think part of this is a lot of truther community is looking for earnings and looking for views. And like, how can you actually do good research to determine whether it's a hoax or not within like, you know, the hour of it happening? You can't. So people really
Yeah,
need to.
those are the. I hate to use the term, but I've used it before. But the hoax tard. And no offense to the folks out there. I usually get someone commenting, "How dare you say?" But that's what they are. They're hoax tards. You know, they're people that everything's a hoax. Nothing is real. There's no reality, and it's just that will drive you insane. But go ahead.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, like I said, that some of them are real. Some of them are definitely, I think, hoaxes. I think it's definitely possible that they've staged a lot of these things. But on the second hand, you know, it's sort of ironic, right? So the same people that are claiming that these are all hoaxes are claiming that these are set up by NWO world leaders that want to kill everyone. Well, then why are they faking it? If these people really have it in to kill us all, why don't they just like really kill people instead of going through the arduous task of getting crisis actors and making it all fake?
Good point. You know, you like you said, like I said, like we've discussed. I mean, it can be a mix. And I do know there's some kind of programming with the Joker because of Aurora, and then after that there was another guy that dressed up like the Joker and did some stuff. You guys can look this up. And then in the last 24 hours, I believe the police shot this guy. You guys can look this up. I just saw the headline recently. There was a guy dressed up like the Joker carrying a sword. I don't know if he was chasing people or hurt somebody, but this is a brand new news story just in the last several hours. I just noticed. So you can look that up. So I do think there's a bit of a programming, which goes back to the idea of the killer clown phase that's going on, all the killer clowns coming out. But on the other side of that, I could also see the spiritual implications, right? Because a clown has manifested as something more demonic in a lot of ways. So anyway, I'm rambling, but I think that's some fascinating stuff, man. So anything else you wanted to add to that, Mike? Or?
Yeah, I'll just add one more thing because I'm actually going to do a video on it pretty soon. One of the things that helped me get some clarification of all these events shaping the New World Order. A long time ago, you know, you hear that there's these world leaders, there's these people that are unseen. They're even above our government leaders, and they're the ones pulling the strings. They have a plan and everything's going according to their plan. Even the Hollywood stars, right? The ones that flash the all-seeing eye symbol and on all this stuff. They're all part of the plan. Like they know what's going on. And I always had a hard time with that, right? It's like, how can, you know, anytime you get a company to get bigger and bigger and bigger, it always falls apart because men cannot manage things that well. So how the heck are these groups of people like managing all these Illuminati puppets everywhere without people spilling the beans or things like that? I thought it was a very, very difficult task. But when I was
That's a
having
really
a
good point.
conversation with one of my buddies, he's like, well, you have to understand that the puppet master is spiritual, not physical. So I think a lot of these people don't necessarily know the plan. Like for instance, I did some videos on H.G. Wells and his books and how he talked about a new world order. When you read about it, he's literally saying how he's trying to save the world. And I question, like, is this guy being honest here? And I think he was. I think he was deceived. He's just talking about, oh, we need to do these things in order to save the world. Or maybe your pop Hollywood stars, like it's part of their culture. It's you know, it's what they do to fit in with the crowd. And essentially it's the Antichrist spirit that is aligning them to a single purpose. And they may not really be aware of the plan per se.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, it's really like that movie Avatar, where we are spiritual avatars. We are flesh bodies, and if you don't have the Holy Spirit dwelling within, you have the enemy. I believe that, and that's why I think a lot of times we will see symbols in movies and TV shows and commercials. Sometimes I believe they're put there almost as if they're like gang signs to signal to the others, "Hey, we're down." But in other ways, I think it just comes through spiritually. Like it just works through these people that don't have Christ, and that's the way a lot of these people are. I'm a creative person, and I lived in LA for many years, and I worked in the industry on a lower level, but like production, but all my peers were all very creative people, and I don't think I had a real conversation with any of them about Jesus Christ. I'm pretty sure most of them just weren't into it and didn't believe. So these are avatars in a lot of ways.
Yeah.
So you're like, yes. So, all right, man, well, let's roll down here. I saw one person say, somebody had a question here. Let me jump back down here. And if you see anything, please let me know, Mike.
Yeah,
The
I'm
Parliament
not a
shooting.
good multitasker. Trying to go
Okay,
through the
man, no
comments and
worries.
talk at the same time. I'm a
No
guy.
worries, man. Well, David Keith asked about the 322 Parliament shooting. Now, my attitude on that one is I will include that in another bigger video with more information and other dots connected. But I was not going to cover that individually because I feel, first off, there's a comfort knowing a lot of people are going to cover it. And they did. A lot of people covered that. That's 322, Skull and Bones. Um, it was at the Parliament, and we get it. The Queen and all the connections there with the Freemasons, the obvious connections. We know this is some kind of a public ritual, but I still need to wait. And I don't know, Mike, you might be the same way, but I wait sometimes on some of these things because I know that more stuff is going to come out that I can connect and make a bigger video out of, or something maybe more important. But oftentimes these stories are low hanging fruit nowadays. The whole idea, again, of Illuminati exposed is all over the place on YouTube. It's everywhere now. It wasn't this way 7 years ago when I started. I've literally been here that long to see the evolution of this. And now it's an industry. And I've said that before. I mean, there's tons of channels that will cover this. So when I see big stories come out that I know are obvious and there's some Illuminati symbolism there, I usually won't cover it because I know that there'll be like 30 channels that will.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm the same. And like you said, it's happening like weekly. It, I am just astounded with how many things are happening nowadays.
Hey man, I was gonna ask you, and we're live, but I guess we can talk privately if you like. Are you in Oklahoma or no? I thought you were in Oklahoma.
No,
I'm
I'm
not
in
sure.
Ohio.
Okay, all right. I thought for whatever reason, I thought you're in the Midwest. Anyway, okay, cool. Well, hey man, is there anything else that you'd like to kind of throw out there before we go? Because we've gone a good couple hours now, and I don't want to keep you much longer. But if there's anything you want to leave the people with, what's the most important thing also that you feel is you'd like to get across to anybody listening? And also, please share your YouTube channel or websites as well that you'd like people to visit.
Yep. So my main YouTube channel is On Point Preparedness, and you can just find that by searching in YouTube. I also have a backup channel that I'm starting, and that link is in my main YouTube channel as well. I also have a main website that I have not really been updating so much, but that's onpointpreparedness.net. So pretty common theme there with the naming. You can find me pretty easy. But last parting questions or comments. I don't know, just sort of go back to what I had mentioned before. My channel is specifically looking at the actions of the Pope. I think he is the key to understanding the timeline of where we're at with regards to prophetic things happening. And if you tune into my channel, that's what I try to do my best at.
Excellent, man. Well, Mike, I guess I'll go ahead and I guess we'll shut her down here. Let me jump over here for a second and see where I'm at on my. There we go.
And before we
Okay,
cut
good,
off,
man.
thanks KJ for hosting this. I've actually been hoping we could do this for some time now.
Man, you are welcome. I mean, it really was a pleasure. You're amazing. I love your insights. I'm glad you were able to share, your sites with the people. Folks, check Mike out. I'm telling you, man. Like I started the show off with, I'm not even kidding. And this is part of my new website I'm bringing up as well this week. I'll release it this week. Promise. Okay, it's coming. And I'll explain why it took so long. I had someone else that was helping with me with it, and they were really dragging their heels on fixing some issues. But anyway, we're there now. Um, Support those of us that are real, man. I know you can say, okay, Jay's a shell, he's and so is Mike. Man, we are real. There are some real human beings out here doing this. Whether we have ads or not, it's not, guys, get over that. It's not about ads or not, okay? There's not many of us left. And we need you to check us out, and engage, share information. Let's keep the community alive, because YouTube's shutting our asses down. That's a fact. The other mainstream sources are shutting us down. It's crazy. So we need you. We need you to be there, to watch our videos, to talk with us, to share the videos, share your information. Anyway, man, Mike, dude, I love you, man. Seriously, I've been watching you for a while. I appreciate you so much for coming on, and I hope you had a good time, man.
Yeah, likewise. And like I said before, I love your channel as well. I've been subscribed for years. I was totally stoked. I guess there was a little bit of a man crush when I saw you first
Gnarly,
subscribe
bro.
to my channel. I was like, oh crap. Have you ever just subscribed to my channel? But no,
You're
this has been
great.
cool.
Well, thanks, man. Well, hey, let's do it again sometime, and I'll talk to you later. Keep up the great work, and God bless you, man.
You too. Yeah.
All right, I'll jump over here to the chat before we close up, and let me just say thank you. Thank you. Thanks once again. Seriously, y'all, I appreciate you, man. Again, it's not about being a view queen. That's not it. I love that there's so many of us that are awake. We're questioning things. Many of us are together in the idea of Christ is the key. It's the end game. It's about Jesus. I know that turned some of you off. I get it. It turned me off for years. I was raised in religion, but it's beyond religion. It's the key. I thank you. God bless you all. Thanks for listening tonight. Thank you to Mike from On Point Preparedness. Please check out his YouTube channel. And I love you guys, man. I don't want to keep rambling about how much I appreciate you. It'd get awkward. I got videos coming up this week, guys, I've been working on for a while now. So I got some stuff popping. I'll put a video up this week about my new website. Please come check it out. You'll see all my band videos from YouTube there. Also videos that I can no longer do on YouTube. Guys, I love you. Take care.